Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. The end of the world. The materials consumed by women will be returned 10,000 times. Chapter 81. Ji Yu Lianying felt a little uncomfortable being stared at by Zhang Fan, but she still said, "Classmate, my name is Ji Yu Lianying. I am a superpower and can make water. They are also superpowers. I think we should join forces and escape from here." And that Lu Junpeng. Ji Yu Lianying lowered her voice. "He is a big bad guy. If he hadn't been chasing us to kill us, we wouldn't have been forced here." The three male supernatural beings also nodded and said, "Yes, we should unite. This tentacle monster is too powerful. If we run one by one, we will definitely not be able to escape. We have to think of a solution together." Zhang Fan has no interest in so-called cooperation, nor does he want to chat with a group of dead people in futures. Except for Ji Yu Lianying, everyone here will die. Zhang Fan said calmly. "Sorry, I'm not interested." After saying that, he closed his eyes. The expressions of the four people changed slightly. A male supernatural person said angrily, "Don't think that your strength is a big deal. Let me tell you, that Lu Junpeng is very powerful. You are no match for him." Ji Yu Lianying also followed. "Yes, his speed is so fast that we can't react at all. No matter how strong you are, you can't even touch him or beat him." At this time, Lu Junpeng walked over quickly and said sternly, "What are you talking about? Tell me." Ji Yu Lianying and the others were startled. They did not dare to confront Lu Junpeng and quickly retreated to the crowd of survivors. Lu Junpeng stared at the four people leaving grimly. If he hadn't been trapped here by the tentacle monster and needed living people as human shields, he would have killed all the survivors long ago. Tentacle monsters apparently have no interest in dead people. Deng Wei's body was thrown on the ground, but it didn't pick it up and make a cocoon. Lu Junpeng snorted coldly, glared at Zhang Fan again, and left without saying anything. He would not kill this person unless absolutely necessary. At least he can serve as a human shield for himself. Anyway, he is just a reckless man with strong strength and cannot hurt himself at all. The survivors split into two groups. Lu Junpeng and his group gathered together, while Ji Yu Lianying and other survivors gathered on the other side. Zhang Fan was the only one sitting alone in the middle of the field, with his eyes closed and his legs crossed. No one knew what he was doing. Time flies by. The psychological pressure on everyone is increasing, and everyone is panicking. As expected, the tentacle monster captured another girl, turned her into a cocoon, and hung her high on the ceiling. The girl screamed very miserably. "Help! Help me! Lu Junpeng, save me, you can do whatever you want. Save me. Mom, I'm afraid." The tentacle monster allowed the girl to scream without killing her. It seems that this tentacle monster only likes living animals. Everyone was both scared and relieved. Everyone will be safe for at least an hour. Ji Yu Lianying and others took out the food they had brought with them and ate it. Ji Yu Lianying made a lot of water and distributed it to everyone. The girls kept screaming, which echoed throughout the basketball court. No one dared to raise their heads and ate with solemn expressions. Lu Junpeng and others were also hungry. However, they were out to kill people and had almost no food on them. "Brother Peng, what should I do?" A subordinate looked at Lu Junpeng helplessly. Lu Junpeng smiled grimly. "What should I do? Steal it." He picked up the watermelon knife and walked to the survivors. "Give me half of your food and water." "Why?" a boy said angrily. Before he finished speaking, Lu Junpeng cut his neck with a knife. Poof! The boy's eyes widened and he fell to the ground, covering his neck. Lu Junpeng cursed crazily. "Shabi, do you think I am discussing with you?" The survivors were trembling. They looked at Ji Yu Lianying and the four superpowers for help. Ji Yu Lianying and others could only lower their heads in frustration. If they could deal with Lu Junpeng, they would have nothing to do with running away. "Hurry up. Didn't you hear what Brother Peng said? Maid, put down the bread. Stop eating it." Lu Junpeng's men swarmed up and stole most of the food with fists and kicks. The student survivors did not dare to resist at all, so they could only grit their teeth and endure it. Lu Junpeng and others laughed wildly. "What rubbish instant noodles, they taste so bad. There's not even a braised egg, so I'm not full. Bah, is this ham expired?" They recklessly wasted the food that the survivors had worked so hard to save. Everyone's eyes were on fire, but there was nothing they could do. Wow, there was a smell of chocolate. I saw Jong Fan tearing open a dove in his spare time, eating it, taking out a box of milk from his pocket and drinking it all, followed by a bag of beef jerky. Everyone's eyes were on fire. Gulu. Lu Junpeng swallowed and stared at Jong Fan, but still did not make a move. There was still food to eat for the time being, so he wouldn't take any chances. Time flies. Everyone fell silent and looked at the ceiling uneasily. The tentacle monster moved again, and its tentacles shot at a boy. The boy was shocked, and in fear, he reached out and pulled a girl next to him to block him. The girl was swept away instantly and screamed in midair. Ah, help. Everyone's expressions changed and they looked at the boy silently. The girl struggled hard but couldn't get away, and shouted angrily. Jong Chang, I won't let you go even if I'm a ghost. The boy named Jong Chang said in panic. It's not my fault. I was so scared that I just pulled her without thinking. Who knew she was right next to her? No one spoke. After this incident, everyone became wary of the people around them. Except for those who have particularly close relationships, most people stay away from others silently. Jong Fan closed his eyes again and continued to practice breathing techniques, indifferent to everything around him. As long as Jiu Lianying doesn't die. Time passed by minute. One by one, the unlucky ones were rolled onto the roof and turned into cocoons. Someone tried to escape and was immediately caught and turned into a cocoon. Some people want to hide in nooks and crannies, but their tentacles are extremely flexible and can reach into any corner. Someone quietly climbed out of the window and left, but was swept away halfway. No one knows how the tentacle monsters choose their targets, and no one knows who will die next. Everyone is under tremendous psychological pressure. Except Jong Fan. He had been sitting in the middle of the field without moving once. Fortunately, the tentacle monster never attacked him. The sky gradually darkened. The basketball court was illuminated by countless cocoons, and everyone's expressions were uncertain. Even at night, the tentacle monster did not stop making cocoons. Under great mental pressure, some people fell into drowsiness and were then abducted in their sleep. This night was very tortuous, with a shrill howl once an hour, which made everyone sleep badly. I was woken up by a nightmare just as I fell asleep. I was relieved to find that I hadn't been taken away yet. The next morning, everyone had dark circles under their eyes. The only exception is Jong Fan. His comprehensive physical fitness is as high as 90. It is very easy to stay up all night and is nothing at all. Lu Junpeng robbed the survivors of food again. Totally sold out this time. People began to starve. After being hungry until noon, Jong Fan opened his eyes, moved his body, and then took out a pack of vacuum-packed roast chicken from his pants pocket and ate it. Everyone was stunned. You are Doraemon. Can such a big roast chicken be stuffed into a pants pocket? Lu Junpeng couldn't bear it any longer. He angrily threw away the noodles in his hand and rushed to Jong Fan. Shabi, I'll make you, kill you. Jong Fan took out a gun and pointed it at Lu Junpeng, saying calmly. Keep talking, I'm listening. Lu Junpeng was numb. Who the hell is this person? Why is there still a gun? Police investigation. Wrong. He is definitely not a police officer with his arrogant appearance. Lu Junpeng reacted, scratched his neck and shouted. Maid, who are you trying to scare with a fake gun? If you can, shoot. Boom. A wisp of smoke floated from the muzzle of the gun. Lu Junpeng was shot in the middle of the forehead and fell to the ground on his back with eyes open. Ah, everyone was dumbfounded. Is Lu Junpeng dead now? Jong Fan put down his pistol. This kind of request is really strange. Everyone saw that he asked me to hit him. Everyone felt a chill. Ha ha ha. Dead. All dead. The frightened survivors lay down in front of Lu Junpeng, looking left and right with a smile. Jong Fan glanced at him and then looked at everyone. Everyone took a step back in unison. Jong Fan counted and found that there were 27 people left, which could last about one day. One night passed, and the tree of 10,000 dharmas grew again. Qi is extremely abundant and can perform at least 100 ghost maneuvers. But the growth rate began to slow down, and it felt like it had reached a certain bottleneck, and no matter how hard I practiced, I couldn't break through. Jong Fan planned to try one more night. However, the number of survivors was too small. The tentacle monster might hit Ji Lianying at any time. In order to better protect her, Zhang Fan simply said, Ji Lianying, come here. Ji Lianying took a step back in fear and said nervously, You, what are you going to do? Zhang Fan raised his pistol and said impatiently, I said, come here. Ji Lianying shivered and said with a cry, Don't shoot, I'll just go over there. She walked to Zhang Fan cautiously. Zhang Fan saw her body covered in a red light that represented hostility, but didn't take it to heart. Ji Lianying also had a fruit knife hidden in her arms. Zhang Fan didn't even care. With his overall physique, this woman couldn't even scratch his skin. You stay here, then don't go. These are for you, eat. Zhang Fan took out a carton of milk and a bag of bread, and then continued to practice breathing techniques. Ji Lianying looked at the food in confusion, then at Zhang Fan, completely confused as to what this man wanted to do. For a long time, she watched Zhang Fan sit cross-legged with his eyes closed, completely ignoring herself, and then she gently picked up the food and started eating. Anyway, I will be killed by the tentacle monster, at least I will be a dead ghost. The tentacle monsters kill the survivors one by one. The sky became dark again, and there were fewer and fewer survivors. Everyone lives like a year. Another night passed. Fortunately, the tentacle monster never picked Zhang Fan or Ji Lianying. But Zhang Fan finally decided to leave. After a night of practice, he had determined that the Tree of All Laws had indeed reached a certain bottleneck, and it could no longer become stronger no matter how hard it breathed. Zhang Fan couldn't determine whether it was because the number of breaths was not enough, or the level of the breathing method was too low, or the density of qi was not enough. If there was still time, Zhang Fan would continue the experiment. But now the survivors are almost dead. If he continued practicing, the tentacle monster would attack him and Ji Lianying at any time, and he wouldn't be able to practice for long. Zhang Fan looked around. There are only 7 survivors left alive, and they are all almost going crazy with fear. Ji Lianying was so frightened that she shrank onto Zhang Fan. After getting along with each other for a day and a night, Ji Lianying gradually began to trust Zhang Fan, and the red light on her body also disappeared a lot. Zhang Fan stood up and opened a blue portal. Ji Lianying was surprised. What is this? Come home with me. Zhang Fan picked up Ji Lianying and walked into the blue portal. The second ability. Ji Lianying finally understood. He is a dual powerful person. The few remaining survivors were stunned for a moment, then they came to their senses and ran over anxiously. Brother, take me away, take me away, take me away, whatever you ask me to do. At this moment, the tentacle monster suddenly shot out its tentacles and pierced into the portal. The survivors fled in terror. Building C, Fortune Center. In a dark corner on the 24th floor, 7 or 8 men gathered together and whispered. Jong hasn't shown up for 2 days. Do you think he might have died outside? Impossible. The person named Jong is too powerful. He has strength and can pass through walls. How could he die? Who knows, it's so dangerous outside now. Do you still remember that big frog? Maybe Jong was eaten by a monster. Maybe, he just doesn't want to come down. Have you noticed that old guy Li Qingchuan used to come down every day to exchange pure water for herbs, but he didn't come down yesterday. I guess he should have used up all the pure water Zhang Fan gave him. If Zhang Fan is still here, why not give him a supplement? It's possible, maybe Zhang Fan is really dead. We robbed Zhang Fan's house. What if he's not dead? Let's give it a try. Zhang Fan also brought a lot of kebabs that day. He definitely has a lot of food. And women. Tang Shiru is so beautiful. As long as we rob him, there will be no shortage of food and women. Mad. Why does he eat spicy food, but we want to eat shit-flavored shepherd's purse? Why does he waste so much food and not give us any? Grab it. Steal him. We will have food, drink and women. But I heard gunshots upstairs. Zhang Fan should have a gun in his hand. A bald man sneered. Longguo has very strict gun control. Even if he has a gun, he doesn't have many bullets. Let's mobilize everyone and come together. Let others be human shields in the front, and we can just hide in the back and pick up the leaks. It's done. I don't want to eat that shit-flavored shepherd's purse for another day. Half an hour later, a group of survivors swarmed upstairs. When they arrived on the 27th floor, everyone was very scared, fearing that Zhang Fan would come down and kill someone. You pushed me and I pushed you, but no one dared to go upstairs first. As a result, after dawdling for several minutes, Zhang Fan didn't come down. Li Qingchuan heard the noise at the top of the stairs, pushed the door open and went out to take a look, and found a group of survivors crowded in the corridor, holding various weapons in their hands. Oops! Li Qingchuan immediately knew that the situation was not good, turned around and climbed upstairs. Everyone was stunned for a moment, at a loss, and some people wanted to back out. The bald head who encouraged everyone knew that once everyone ran away, it would never be possible to get back together again. If Zhang Fan is still alive, others may be able to survive, but as an organizer, he is definitely dead. The bald man gritted his teeth and rushed out of the crowd, shouting, "Catch him! Don't let him get away!" After saying that, the leader rushed upstairs. A group of people looked at each other and followed suit. Li Qingchuan rushed to the 32nd floor in one breath. He was old, scared and anxious. He was out of breath while running, and bang 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 Tang Shiru's room. Open, open, open the door. Open the door quickly. The people downstairs are coming to kill you. All the women in the room trembled. Zhang Fan didn't come back for 2 nights. They were already worried, but now they were even more worried. What to do? It's Dr. Li's voice. Let him in quickly. What if he has bad intentions? Especially Lu Mengyao. Her face turned extremely pale when she thought of those women in the cage. Without Zhang Fan's protection, the fate of this group of women would not be much better than those of the women in the cage. Tang Shiru knew she couldn't mess up now, so she calmed down and ran to the door to see Li Qingchuan through the peephole. Perception activated. The green light on Li Qingchuan's body is very pure. Tang Shiru was relieved, but she was still very cautious. She immediately took out the pistol Zhang Fan gave her and handed it to Xu Mengqian. Mengqian, you must monitor Li Qingchuan for a while, and don't relax. Xu Mengqian understood the importance and nodded solemnly. Good. Tang Shiru said to Tian Tian again. You immediately go to the bedroom and open the door. If the situation goes bad, we will immediately move to your home. These people don't know the location of your home, Brother Zhang knows. If he can't find us when he comes back, he will definitely go to your home to look for us. Quote. Tian Tian was so scared that she cried and said hurriedly. Well, after Tang Shiru made arrangements, she opened the door and let in Li Qingchuan, who was out of breath. Li Qingchuan was extremely anxious outside the door, fearing that he would be blocked by the survivors downstairs. Then he breathed a sigh of relief, but as soon as he entered the door, he saw Xu Mengqian holding a pistol, and he was immediately startled. Xu, Miss Xu, what does this mean? Xu Mengqian said nothing. Tang Shiru explained. Drive Li, Brother Zhang is not here. This is for everyone's good. You just stay here and talk about the following situation. Li Qingchuan smiled bitterly. You group of young people are even afraid of an old man. Too cautious. When he was about to speak, a blue portal appeared out of thin air. Li Qingchuan was stunned for a moment. All the girls were overjoyed. Brother Zhang is back. After the tentacles entered the subspace, they seemed to have lost their target and were exploring everywhere. Zhang Fan looked at it curiously and left in no hurry. It seems that the tentacles have no vision, and the tentacle monsters cannot see inside even from the outside. Gradually, more tentacles passed through the portal and stretched out. Densely packed tentacles are waving in the subspace, constantly exploring the surroundings, like a scene in a nightmare, making people's scalp numb. Jiu Lianying was so frightened that she screamed. Get it out quickly, quickly. Snapped. Zhang Fan slapped her hard on the back. Don't make any noise. He thought quickly, then took out a steamroller from his pocket and threw it next to the tentacle. Jiu Lianying was dumbfounded. Where did this roller come from? The tentacle monster seemed to sense something. All the tentacles swarmed up and grabbed the steamroller, entangled and strangled it like a python, and at the same time dragged it out with force. Click, click. The shell of the roller was distorted and deformed by the huge force, and the heavy iron pulleys also made a harsh sound, which made Zhang Fan's teeth hurt. Immediately afterwards, Zhang Fan discovered that compared with its terrifying power of strangulation, the tentacle monster's pulling power was not great. The tentacle monster cannot pull a road roller with at least 10 tons. Zhang Fan's eyes lit up. Maybe there is a chance to catch this tentacle monster. Then wouldn't he have an independent source of qi? Blood bursts out. Zhang Fan saw the opportunity and unleashed all his strength without hesitation. 500%. His whole body shone brightly, his height soared by 20 centimeters, and his body grew larger. The air in the subspace actually made a crackling sound. Between breaths, it seems to cause the entire subspace to tremble. Boom, boom, boom. Jiyu Lianying screamed, covered her mouth, and looked at Zhang Fan in horror. In just a short moment, this handsome man turned into a demon. This is another superpower. 3 superpowers. How many more superpowers does he have? A long steel bar appeared in Zhang Fan's hand, and he strode forward like thunder. Go to hell. Zhang Fan used all his strength to stab out the steel bar like lightning. Poof. Under the brute strength of the 510 comprehensive physique, the steel bars were like the sharpest weapons, like a hot knife cutting through butter, piercing several tentacles and the middle steamroller compartment horizontally, and then passed out from the other side. All the tentacles trembled visibly, and they immediately let go of the roller and tried to retract it. But it's too late. Zhang Fan would not let go of this opportunity. He pushed hard and bent the steel bars, then rushed to the other side and broke the steel bars on the other side. Then he grabbed both ends of the steel bars with both hands, and under the action of brute force, the steel bars were twisted together like iron wires. The tentacles were tied to the steamroller. The tentacle monster struggled wildly, and all its tentacles slammed against the steel bars, but it couldn't break free at all. Instead, Zhang Fan saw the opportunity and stabbed out more steel bars and pierced more tentacles into the roller. Now it couldn't escape at all. Zhang Fan finally breathed a sigh of relief, quickly released his energy and blood burst state, and began to breathe heavily. The burden of a 500% energy and blood burst is still too great. Half a minute later, the tentacle monster couldn't break free, so it squeezed into the subspace through the portal, with 4 pairs of eyes glaring at Zhang Fan with hatred. Without saying a word, Zhang Fan opened the portal to go home, jumped out with Jiyu Lianying in his arms, and then immediately closed the door, locking the tentacle monster in the subspace. Subspace is a constant drain on your physical strength. I want to see how long you can hold it. As soon as he landed, Tang Shiru and the other girls gathered around him excitedly. Brother Jong is finally back. Zhang Fan didn't come back for 2 days. They were almost frightened, fearing that Zhang Fan would have an accident outside. Now seeing Zhang Fan return home, everyone cried with joy, and their hanging hearts finally returned to their original position. After this incident, they realized how important Zhang Fan was to them. Zhang Fan felt something was wrong as soon as he landed. The girls were very nervous. There was another Li Qingchuan in the room who was pointed at a gun. In the perception, a group of survivors covered in red light are climbing the stairs. Zhang Fan quickly understood what happened, his eyes flashed with a fierce light. What's going on? I just left for 2 days, and these people are not honest. What is this blue door? Li Qingchuan is a mature man. He knows that he has seen a secret that he should not see, so he quickly expresses his sincerity. Mr. Jong, the group of survivors downstairs rushed up with weapons just now, so I ran up to report the news. Tang Shiru timidly said, Brother Jong, I let him in. At this moment, a group of survivors rushed up to the 32nd floor noisily. A group of people were already red-eyed, banging on Zhang Fan's rental door in their dreams. Tang Shiru, come out. I know you are inside. Zhang Fan is dead, you surrender immediately. And Li Qingchuan, you, an old and immortal person, are helping the tyrants and doing experiments on us. Do you think we don't know? I'm going to skin you. Li Qingchuan's face turned pale and he muttered. It's over now. Tang Shiru and the other girls felt relieved. They knew how powerful Zhang Fan was, and even if they couldn't beat him, they could just open the door and leave. As long as Zhang Fan comes back, their hearts will be filled with joy. Jiyu Lianying, who had just arrived, was very frightened. She didn't understand the situation at all, but she roughly knew that Zhang Fan and his group were surrounded by a group of thugs. This is really just out of the tiger's den and into the wolf's den. Jiyu Lianying wanted to cry but had no tears. Why am I so unlucky? What should I do? When Su Jin saw Jiyu Lianying, he walked forward and said happily. Gu Lianying, you are here too. Don't worry, as long as there is Brother Jong, there will be no problem. Gu Lianying was also surprised when she saw Su Jin. Teacher Su, why are you here? Su Jin's face turned red. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. There was a loud knock on the door. The more a group of people scolded, the more excited they became and the bolder they became. Zhang Fan hasn't come out yet, doesn't it mean that he is dead? Come out here, you stinky fools. Zhang Fan is dead, let me see what you do now. Ha ha ha, kill them all and steal all their food. Zhang Fan narrowed his eyes. He practiced the breathing method for 2 days, and his energy and blood exploded to 500% to catch the tentacle monster. Now he is very tired and just wants to rest. As a result, this happened as soon as I got home. Zhang Fan was very angry, and the consequences were serious. It seems that I am still too soft-hearted. Roll your eyes. Zhang Fan shouted. Woof. Husky jumped out. Zhang Fan said expressionlessly. Go downstairs and block them. No one can escape. Woof woof woof. Bai Yan jumped up happily, crossed the floor and jumped down. Zhang Fan took out a pistol and walked towards the door. Click. The door opened. The crazy survivor outside the door was stunned for a moment and turned around to look. A familiar figure walked out. Everyone's scalps suddenly became numb, their heads buzzed, and they all shouted in horror. It's Zhang Fan. Zhang Fan is not dead. He has a gun. Zhang Fan walked out of the room, and everyone rolled and crawled back. The people behind didn't know what was happening, so they pushed forward desperately. What? Zhang Fan is here. Is he still alive? Who is talking nonsense? Everyone was huddled together and turned upside down. No matter what, there was a large area of empty space around Zhang Fan, and no one dared to approach him. Zhang Fan opened the pistol safety with a click and asked calmly. Who organized it? Everyone looked at each other and involuntarily looked at Baldhead and the others. The bald man was startled and shouted quickly. Don't be afraid. How many people can he kill with just one gun? There are so many of us, why should we be afraid? Just rush in and bring food, water, women. Boom. A man next to the bald head was shot in the forehead and fell to the ground on his back. Ah, ah, ah. The bald head was so frightened that he almost urinated and screamed unconsciously. Zhang Fan said calmly. Oh, sorry, missed. He raised his pistol again. Boom. The person next to the bald head died again. Zhang Fan sighed. Oh, my marksmanship is really bad. It looks like I need to practice more. After speaking, he raised his pistol again. The crotch of the bald man's pants was wet, and he waved his hands and said. No, 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 don't shoot. Listen to me. Boom. The bullet flew past the bald scalp and burned a line on his scalp. Another person falls. Everyone could no longer bear this fear and turned around and ran away in droves. The bald man touched his head in confusion. The wound hurt. Pain is a good thing. It means you are not dead. Before he could speak, Zhang Fan stepped forward and crushed his knee. Click. Ah. The bald man's eyes bulged, and he tightly covered his thighs. Zhang Fan lowered his head and said. Oops, sorry, I stepped on you. The bald man covered his thigh and endured the severe pain and said with difficulty. No, no, it's okay. Zhang Fan said calmly. Look, there is no hospital now. You are obviously hopeless. Right, how about I help you? The bald man moved back with fear on his face, trying to stay as far away from Zhang Fan as possible. Don't come over. Don't come over. Snapped. Zhang Fan kicked him in the chest. The bald man rolled down the stairs. My broken leg was bumping up and down the stairs, causing me to faint and wake up from the pain. In the end, the calf was completely torn from the knee, and blood spurted out. Such a serious trauma. This time it was so exciting that he was dead. Ah! The bald head stared at his legs in horror and passed out. Boom! A bullet penetrated his forehead. Zhang Fan walked over coldly. You actually fainted. I'm taking advantage of you. If I had known, I would have injected you with an adrenaline shot. He turned the corner and saw a group of survivors huddled in the stairwell. The husky roared, holding a corpse in its mouth, and came up from the stairs step by step. The survivors stepped back and looked at the husky in fear. What the hell is this? Why is there such a big dog in the building? Jong Fan loaded bullets one by one and walked downstairs calmly. The survivors did not dare to approach Jong Fan. In the end, they were all forced into the 31st floor corridor, completely reaching a dead end. Finally, Jong Fan loaded the bullet, opened the safety, and stood in front of everyone. The husky followed behind him. Only then did everyone realize that this dog was also raised by Jong Fan. Jong Fan smiled lightly and said, "Hello everyone, the culprit has been eliminated, you don't have to worry anymore." The survivors felt relieved. Could it be? Jong Fan pointed to the window at the end of the corridor, which was already covered with ivy. "Come on, let's jump down from here one by one. This matter is over." The expression of the survivor changed drastically. "You're crazy." Quote, "This is the 31st floor. If you jump down, you will die." Jong Fan, "Please, I'm obsessed with this, and it's all the fault of Jin. Brother Jong, you know I have always respected you the most. I even went downstairs to collect herbs for you." Jong Fan sighed. "Everyone, we are all adults. If you do something wrong, you must take responsibility, right? Come on, close your eyes and jump outside. It won't hurt at all. It will be quick." Everyone wailed. "I don't want to die. Spare me, I won't dare to do it again. No, I'm too hungry. Don't blame me. Who told you not to give us food?" Jong Fan suddenly roared. "I specifically said jump. Didn't you hear me?" The scene was completely silent, but no one jumped. Jong Fan said coldly, "Bayan, kill them all." Woof woof woof. The husky suddenly jumped out and bit the first person. The scene was suddenly filled with screams and screams. "How come you enjoy the delicious food and drink spicy food, but we have to starve? Help, help, Jong Fan, you must die a happy death. Now is the end of the world, who can guarantee that he will die well?" Jong Fan felt calm and returned home through the wall. Tang Shiru and the other women were horrified when they heard the screams downstairs. "Brother Jong, how are you now?" Jong Fan scooped out a basin of water from the bathtub and washed his hands calmly. "It's okay. No one will come to cause trouble anymore." Li Qingchuan trembled. "Mr. Jong, did you kill them all?" Jong Fan stared into Li Qingchuan's eyes and said word by word. "When they decide to take action, they have to be prepared to face the consequences." "Right." Li Qingchuan nodded in panic, feeling very scared. "I must not offend Jong Fan, it is too cruel." Jiu Lianying was even more trembling. "This young man is more murderous than Lu Junpeng." The faces of the girls also turned green and white for a while. They didn't know what they were thinking, but there was a little fear in Jong Fan's eyes. Lu Mengyao looked happy. She recalled a scene she had seen and said, "Sisters, think about it, what would happen if we were caught by them today? It would be the easiest for us women to die. We would be locked in a cage and treated like dogs." The faces of the girls changed again, and they suddenly felt that Jong Fan's treatment was very reasonable. "Yes, kill. We must kill them all. Now that we have taken action, we must eradicate the roots. Are there a group of survivors full of hatred, waiting for revenge?" Jong Fan shook the water on his hand. Bai Shinji took a dry towel to dry his hands. Jong Fan sat down and stared at Li Qingchuan. This time, things were not without benefits. Li Qingchuan proved his loyalty. Li Qingchuan was shocked by what he saw. Even so, the light on his body is still green. Jong Fan said with satisfaction, "Drive Li, your performance is very good, and you have gained my trust. In the future, I will give you more and better food, as well as enough supplies for daily life." Li Qingchuan felt as if he had been granted amnesty and said gratefully, "Thank you Mr. Jong." At this time, it became quiet downstairs. Jong Fan looked downstairs. "Very good, all survivors are dead." Immediately afterwards, Bai Yan jumped up from downstairs through the floor. It was covered in blood, with a fierce look in its eyes, and looked at Jong Fan with a low growl. Roar! Everyone was furious. Could it be that after this beast killed someone, he started to want to resist? Who can deal with such a big beast? Jong Fan looked at him with puzzled eyes. The light on its body is still green, so why is it making such a gesture? Jong Fan suddenly remembered the habits of dogs. Could it be, this fool wants to challenge my position and compete for the top spot? Grass. I am a human being. Snapped. Jong Fan slapped the dog on the head in displeasure. Plop. Byakugan screamed after being beaten, and his jaw hit the ground hard. A large piece of the floor was smashed, making him dizzy. Jong Fan grabbed the dog's ears, picked up the dog's head, and gave it a dozen slaps. Bang, 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 bang. The husky suddenly woke up, wagging its tail like a propeller, and humming in a flattering manner. Obviously, it has once again recognized its status. Jong Fan didn't know whether to laugh or cry, and slapped Bai Yan to the ground with another heavy slap. You will be punished with no beef for 3 days. Woof woof woof. The husky was aggrieved, but he no longer dared to resist, and kept his tail between his legs and his head. Black Cat Cola barked twice in gloating. Li Qingchuan returned to the 28th floor. Jong Fan took out a lot of food. He didn't come back for 2 days, and the women began to starve and wanted to have a good meal. The sumptuous food made Jiu Lianying stunned. This, where does this come from? Tang Shiru smiled and said. You will know soon. Anyway, you don't have to worry about food and drink here, Brother Jong. Just settle down and settle down. Jong Fan took out enough food and said disgustedly. You guys are cooking, Jiu Lianying, you go take a shower, you all stink. Jiu Lianying was so embarrassed. In this environment, even if she could make water, she would not be in the mood to pay attention to personal hygiene, and her body would naturally smell bad. At the same time, she was very nervous. Jong Fan gathered a room full of beauties, letting her vaguely know what was going to happen. However, she had no way to escape. And, why run away? Jiu Lianying noticed the spirits and states of the girls, and they were obviously doing well. It shows that Jong Fan treats women very well and does not intentionally abuse them. Moreover, Jong Fan had just taken action to suppress the thugs, which made her feel a sense of security that she had not seen for a long time while her heart was palpitating. Thinking of Jong Fan's various abilities, she was even more excited. Perhaps, in this era, only men like Jong Fan can protect women. Early morning, Jong Fan woke up from his sleep. The energy and physical exertion in the past 2 days were too great. Even with a 90% physical fitness, I couldn't bear it, and I felt a little sleepy. He simply took a long sleep comfortably, and now his energy is fully restored. The sequelae of the short-term burst of 500% also basically disappeared. Jong Fan stood up happily and checked the system prompts from last night. Ding! 1 day ago, Jiu Lianying consumed a pack of bread and got 1,000 packs back. It has been put into the portable space. Ding! 2 days ago, Jiu Lianying consumed a bag of Snickers and returned 1,000 bags. It has been put into the carry-on space. Ding! 3 days ago, Jiu Lianying consumed a box of milk and returned 1,000 boxes. It has been put into the portable space. Ding! 15 days ago, Jiu Lianying consumed 1 enlightenment fruit, condensed water, and 1,000 of them were returned. It has been put into the portable space. Enlightenment fruit condensed water, 1 star. After eating it, you can gain the ability to condense water. Eating the same fruit repeatedly has a chance of improving the star rating. Jong Fan took out a condensed water fruit and ate it. Condensed water, 1 star. You can extract water from your surroundings and condense it into water. Jong Fan immediately discovered that a new fruit appeared on the tree of 10,000 dharmas. There are now 8 fruits, corresponding to 8 abilities. Oh, it turns out it's not Calabash Baby. Jong Fan was a little disappointed. He raised his hand. Condensation. A small water ball slowly appeared in the palm of my hand. The water ball is suspended about 5 centimeters above the palm of the hand, getting bigger and bigger. After about half a minute, a bottle of 500 megaliters pure water was condensed. The energy consumed was so small that Jong Fan could hardly feel it. Even for Jiu Lianying's physique, it's about the same as her jogging 200 or 300 meters, so it's not too big. Jong Fan looked thoughtfully at the water ball floating in his palm. Why can this water polo fly? Is this controlling water with thoughts? Jong Fan relaxed his palm, and the water ball fell down, scattered all over his hand, and flowed from his fingers to the ground. No matter how Jong Fan tried, he could no longer control the water with his thoughts. He probably understood the principle. In other words, I can only control the water I created for the first time. As long as I give up control, I can no longer control it. What is the difference between the water produced for the first time and the water produced later? Jong Fan was a little confused. He condensed another water ball and looked carefully with his senses, but couldn't see anything unusual. There is no energy in the water polo, and it looks like ordinary pure water. If you can't figure it out, don't think about it. Jong Fan took out a few more handfuls of condensed water fruits and ate them. The effect this time was indeed not very good. After eating the 15th pill, the water condensation only rose to 2 stars. Ding! Condensation is upgraded to 2 stars, and the speed of condensation is accelerated. It seems that my ability to adapt to the water condensing fruit is worse than the sensing fruit. But it is much better than the constitution strengthening fruit. Jong Fan tested the water condensation speed. Sure enough, it sped up a lot. Now it only takes about 10 seconds to condense a bottle of pure water. There will never be a shortage of water now. Jong Fan continued to eat the condensed water fruit. After eating more than 60 pieces, it finally rose to 3 stars. Ding! Condensation is upgraded to 3 stars, the speed of condensation is accelerated, the condensation distance is increased to 1 meter. Huh, Jong Fan was surprised. Can the distance of condensation also become farther? Jong Fan immediately tested it. This time, it only takes 3 seconds to condense 1 bottle of pure water. Moreover, the water polo can float 1 meter in front of Jong Fan. Although it is still the same as before, as long as you relax the control, you will no longer be able to control this water polo. But Jong Fan still came up with more uses. For example, when fighting an enemy in close combat, a small water ball suddenly condenses under his nose. The scene is so beautiful that I can't even imagine it. However, if it is used for fighting, the distance of 1 meter is still not enough. In addition, the water condensation speed is too slow. Close combat, both sides move at high speed. Press this condensation button, and by the time you condensate a water ball, the position of the opponent's head will have changed so many times. Jong Fan tried Jiu Lianying again to see if it could condense water directly in her nasal cavity, and found that it could. But the physical exertion is terrifying. After only less than 1 megaliter of water had condensed, Jong Fan felt his body collapse. Moreover, the further inside the body, the greater the consumption. Jong Fan wanted to try if he could condense water in Jiu Lianying's alveoli, but he quickly gave up after trying it. It was estimated that if 1 megaliter of water condensed, he would pass out. This method is too impractical. At least it won't be practical until the physique crushes the enemy. If you can crush the enemy physically, why go to all the trouble? It would be easier to just punch him. Keep eating. Jong Fan took out a handful of condensed water fruits again and ate them. When he was about to feel nauseated, he finally heard the prompt. Ding! Upgrade water condensation to 4 stars. You can consume more physical strength to increase the condensation speed. The condensation distance increases to 5 meters. It can consume physical energy to increase the coagulation speed. Jong Fan was overjoyed. He lacks everything except physical strength. Can it still condense 5 meters away? Jong Fan walked to the window and used all his strength. Condensation. A water balloon the size of a human head instantly appeared outside the window. At this speed, the enemy can hardly react. Such a big water balloon would condensate under someone's nose, just slap it in the face. Not only can it suffocate, but it can also cause temporary blindness. However, this condensation speed also consumes a lot of physical strength. Even with a comprehensive physical fitness of 90, Jong Fan felt weak for a while and only recovered after a few seconds. If it were Jiu Lianying, he would probably be so tired that he would pass out. Moreover, it can indeed penetrate obstacles and condense water balls. Jong Fan laughed. Coupled with your own perception, you can completely condense the walls. This is the magical skill of the Yin people. Jong Fan was satisfied. This is the first elemental attack method he has obtained. Although the water polo seems a bit weak, it is still a good supplement as long as it is used well. Jong Fan also discovered that condensation water actually extracts water molecules from the surrounding environment, closely related to the moisture content of the environment. The more it condenses, the more water vapor is extracted, the drier the air becomes, the more difficult it is to condense, and the greater the energy consumption. If it is on the sea or river, it is estimated that the water condensation speed can be greatly increased. By the way, is that tentacle monster dead? Jong Fan opened a blue portal the size of a soybean and secretly took a look into the subspace. The tentacle monster was trapped all night and was still alive. Jong Fan was a little depressed. Since he could not enter the subspace, he did not know Jang Zin's status. If Jang Zin arrives at the rescue point of the TV station, there may be very important information, but there is no way to monitor it now. In addition, he cannot go to the Demon Sea Pearl TV tower. The riot among the survivors in Building C of the Fortune Center made him extremely vigilant towards everyone. As order collapses, food becomes scarce, and survival becomes increasingly difficult, there will be more and more such things. Building C of Fortune Center is no longer safe enough. The Pearl of the Demon Sea hangs hundreds of meters in the air and is a safe enough shelter. Unfortunately, the tentacle monster is not dead yet, so Jong Fan has no way to enter the subspace and can only continue to wait, and all plans have to be postponed. Jong Fan regretted imprisoning the tentacle monster in subspace. This thing is so easy to carry. In the dense forest, a heavily armed elite team is moving forward. The team was led by 2 soldiers, a man and a woman. The man is very strong and at least 1.9 meters tall. His whole body was covered with a layer of silver armor, even his face was completely covered under the armor. Holding a mountain axe in his hand, he opened a path ahead. The woman was slim and tall, wearing a black tight-fitting military uniform with only a pistol on her waist. She held a thin rope in her hand, connected to a series of metal plates behind her. There are a total of 10 metal plates about 2 meters long and 1 meter wide. They are connected in a string with ropes to form a strange convoy. The metal plates were filled with various heavy weapons and supplies. They looked very heavy, but they were strangely suspended in the air. They seemed to have no weight. The woman could drag all the metal plates away with one hand. On one of the metal plates, a gray-haired scholar and several assistants sat. 10 heavily armed soldiers were on both sides of the convoy protecting them as they moved forward. The woman holding the rope gasped louder and louder, and finally raised her hands and said with a pale face, "Colonel Zhou, I need to take a rest." The armored man's name was Zhou Dao. He stopped and the armor on his face magically disappeared like liquid, revealing a resolute and dark face. Zhou Dao was a little anxious, but had no choice but to say, "Everyone rest for 10 minutes. Team 2 is on guard." Yes, the soldiers immediately took action. 2 groups of 5 people set up a cordon around the area. Several other soldiers pulled the metal plate convoy into a circle, protecting the women and scholars in the middle. The woman slowly put down the rope in her hand, and the metal plate slowly fell to the ground, leaving deep marks on the ground. The woman breathed a sigh of relief and sat on a metal plate to catch her breath. After a while, a huge bat flew from behind, fell to the ground, and transformed into a simple soldier in military uniform. Zhou Dao picked up a cigarette and handed it to him, smiling. "Come, Big Eyes, take one to relieve your fatigue," he said with a big-eyed smile. "Okay, thank you Colonel Zhou." At this time, everyone on the metal plate also came down to move around, eat and rest individually. Zhou Dao took a drink of water, covered his face with armor again, and stood guard around with weapons. The gray-haired scholar picked up a bottle of water and handed it to the woman. "Major Li, thank you and Colonel Zhou for your hard work. If it weren't for you, we would be dead." Li Qingyu took the water and said seriously, "Academician Guo, don't thank me. I'm just following the orders from my superiors." Guo Changing shook his head and said, "You can't say that. Colonel Zhou and Major Li took such a big risk this time to rescue me from the Ocean Academy. I really don't know how to thank you." Li Qingyu said sincerely, "I am just an ordinary soldier. Academician Guo is the pillar of the country, and you are the top biological expert of our Dragon Kingdom. Whether this red mist evolution incident can be completely solved depends on you. Our lives really don't mean anything." The red mist. Guo Changing sighed and looked around. "I still don't have a clue. Everyone paid such a high price to save me. I deserve it." After resting for a while, the time came and everyone packed up their equipment and prepared to set off again. Zhou Dao kept looking at the map, trying to distinguish the current direction from the thick red fog. Finally, he pointed in a direction and said, "Tonight, we can't get to the Pearl of the Demon Sea TV tower anyway. We need to find a place to rest for the night, and we should be able to arrive before noon tomorrow. Then we will send a message to the base, and they will send someone to pick us up. Let's set off. If you walk another kilometer, brothers can rest. Li Qingyu held up the rope, and the metal plates were suspended one after another. The convoy moved forward again. Zhang Fan opened the door and left the bedroom. Jiyu Lianying opened her eyes gently and looked at Zhang Fan's back with a complicated expression. In fact, she woke up as soon as Zhang Fan got up. She always slept very lightly. She just didn't know how to face this man, so she pretended that she couldn't sleep. Jiyu Lianying felt that she should be resentful. Not really. In the precarious Red Mist era, a safe haven like the Zhang family was like a paradise for women. Safety, plenty of food, plenty of supplies, and even enough propane for gas. Except that there is no electricity, it is almost the same as in peacetime. But besides being beautiful, what value do I have here? Jiyu Lianying suddenly thought of Su Jin. She had long known that teacher Su could treat people. Now it's right. Condensation. Zhang Fan must have saved us because of our two abilities. This ability is the foundation of my life. Jiyu Lianying felt confident. Zhang Fan suddenly turned around and said, "Don't stay in bed, get up and have breakfast." Ah, Jiyu Lianying was startled and extremely embarrassed. It turned out that Zhang Fan knew that he had woken up. Jiyu Lianying quickly got up. As soon as I arrived in the living room, I was shocked. There was a table full of food, which was very rich. Milk, bread, fried dough sticks, fried eggs, soy milk. Jiyu Lianying was dumbfounded. Why so much food? This is too luxurious. Such a table of food can feed 10 people for a week if placed at Mahai Film and Television Academy. In Zhang Fan's case, it's just breakfast. Although Jiyu Lianying has never been hungry thanks to her water condensation ability, she is not someone who can choose food. She basically eats whatever is available. Such rich food can only show that Zhang Fan's material reserves are very rich. She remembered one of the pre-job training Tang Shiru did last night. Brother Zhang has known about the Red Mist rewards for a long time. He has a portable space and purchased a large amount of supplies in advance, enough for everyone to enjoy for 100 years. Jiyu Lianying finally believed it after seeing the scene in front of her. Unless this was the case, how could Zhang Fan waste food like this? Jiyu Lianying couldn't help but look at Zhang Fan. Why did he know in advance that the red mist was coming? Then did he know the reason why the red mist was coming? Zhang Fan was holding hard-boiled eggs, one bite at a time, and ate them very quickly. Two beautiful women, one on the left and one on the right, were peeling eggs for him. Breakfast was relatively relaxed, with women chatting spontaneously in small groups. Jiyu Lianying was a little at a loss. Hu Lily waved and said, "Jiyu Lianying, come here and eat together." Su Jin sat next to Hu Lily and smiled sweetly at Jiyu Lianying. Jiyu Lianying breathed a sigh of relief and quickly sat next to the two girls. After eating, Shu Mengqian came in with a large plate of barbecue. This is the mutated frog meat from that day. Brother Zhang has tested it and it is good for the body. Brother Zhang asked everyone to have a skewer and everyone must eat it. When the girls saw Zhang Fan picking up a handful and eating, they all started eating with confidence. Zhang Fan has basically determined that the mutated frog meat is fine and seems to be able to increase his physical fitness. The survivors of yesterday's riot generally looked much better than they had the previous few days. So he took it out for everyone to eat. As his physique gets higher and higher, his strength becomes stronger and stronger. If women's bodies are too weak, they may be injured accidentally at night. It is necessary to appropriately improve women's physical fitness. Zhang Fan is considering popularizing one-star physical enhancement among all women to cope with the increasingly dangerous Red Mist era and help them cope with nightlife. However, this fruit will not be given to the girls for free, it requires their efforts to obtain it. After all, only with subjective initiative can we improve service levels. Zhang Fan took a bite and his eyes lit up. It's quite delicious, a bit like lamb. Moreover, after swallowing it, my body felt warm. Zhang Fan saw that when the mutated frog meat reached his stomach, it seemed to be on fire, releasing bits and pieces of energy and integrating into muscles, bones, tissues and organs. He quickly ate all 10 skewers. In this meal, He ate 10 large skewers of mutated frog meat, 10 eggs, 4 cups of milk, 2 large bowls of soy milk, and 5 fried dough sticks. The women were secretly stunned and happy. The stronger Jong Fan is, the safer they will be. Jong Fan also didn't hide his appetite. After strengthening his physique, he ate more and more. Fortunately, his overall physique also strengthened his intestines and stomach, allowing him to digest so much food. Tang Shiru has taken a physical strengthening course, and her appetite is much larger than other women. After everyone finished eating, the women packed up the food together. Jong Fan thought about it and decided to use a house as a kitchen. He also placed 5 freezers in the room and filled them with ice cubes and food, enough for the women to eat for 3 days. If Jong Fan encounters this situation again, Jong Fan will not be able to come back outside for a short time, and the woman will not starve to death. Of course, if Jong Fan really had an accident, they would not be able to escape death. Jong Fan took out a perception fruit and handed it to Ji Lianying. Ji Lianying said in surprise, "You actually still have black lychee. Is this for me?" Each survivor group has different names for the fruit of enlightenment. Jong Fan nodded. "We call it the superpower fruit here. This is a perception fruit. It can help you identify whether the other party is hostile to you. Every woman who joins can get a perception fruit. I have many other fruits, but you need to fight for them yourself." Quote. Ji Lianying was dumbfounded. She never imagined that the extremely precious treasure outside would become a prize for women here in Jong Fan. She said in disbelief. "In other words, they all have superpowers." Jong Fan smiled. "Yes, some of them have more than one superpower." The girls looked at Ji Lianying with smiles. Tian Tian proudly showed off. "I can teleport, Sister Tang Shiru can pass through walls, and Sister Shu Mengqian can call us with her consciousness." Ji Lianying was completely confused. Jong Fan waved, and a huge water polo appeared in front of Ji Lianying. Ji Lianying's beautiful eyes widened. "You can also condense water. But why do you condense water so fast?" Jong Fan smiled, took out a handful of condensed water fruit and said, "I have a lot of water condensing fruits. If you eat the same fruit, your ability may rise to a star level and become stronger. If you perform well, I will reward you with more water condensing fruits." Other women are used to it. A handful of superpower fruits. Ji Lianying no longer has any pride at all. She originally thought that Jong Fan must have snatched her back because of his ability to condense water. He will definitely be loved by Jong Fan. None of these women can compare to him. Now it seems that there is nothing special about me at all. The precious superpowers outside are actually available here, or even multiple copies. Jong Fan walked through the wall to the top of the building and practiced some energy and blood bursts and ghost maneuvers, but still made no progress. "I don't know how long it will take to practice to achieve Jang Zin's level of freedom of movement." Jong Fan had to admit. It turns out that Jang Zin is really a martial arts genius. Jong Fan took out a handful of fruit and ate it. "If your skills are not good enough, then lift up the panel." He stood on the edge of the rooftop, looking at the endless sea of red mist, and ate the fruits of enlightenment one after another. I don't know if Jang Zin came to the TV station. Mahai Yujing Community. The rooftop of a building. The pot-bellied Kong Yongjan, wearing a clean and crisp black administrative jacket, walked in front with his hands behind his hands, looking exactly like an official. He looked just like he did in peacetime, which was incompatible with today's situation. However, after Kong Yang exorcised, he was followed by a group of survivors. There was nothing strange about their faces, and they followed Kong Yongjan respectfully. Kong Yongjan inspected the rooftop vegetable garden, took a sip from the thermos cup, and then said with great enthusiasm, "I declare that the rooftop vegetable garden project of the 7 buildings of Mahai Yujing has been successfully completed after objective summary, scientific planning and careful deployment by the Mahai Yujing Survivor Leadership Group." Bang 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 bang. The survivors showed extremely excited expressions on their faces and clapped happily, like primary school students being praised by their parents. Some people were so excited that their faces turned red, as if they had climaxed after being praised by Kong Yongjan. The atmosphere in the whole place was both warm and full of indescribable weirdness. Kong Yongjan raised a hand. The scene instantly became quiet as if the stop button had been pressed. Kong Yongjan said slowly and authentically. However, there are still a few small issues. I want to say a few words. The expressions of the survivors instantly became solemn, and they all showed an attentive expression, waiting for Kong Yongjan's opinion. First of all, we must raise awareness and correct our attitude. No one saw that following Kong Yongjan's words, invisible ripples spread out with him as the center, exerting a mysterious influence on everyone. Kong Yongjan talked non-stop for half an hour. Everyone was mesmerized by what he heard, and they all nodded in agreement, and their admiration was beyond words. Kong Yongjan was also sweating profusely while speaking and was physically exhausted. However, looking at everyone's performance, he felt satisfied and relaxed all over. He is a small district chief, but in a big city like Mahai City with many high-ranking officials, there is no chance for him to show off like this. After the red mist fell, Kong Yongjan accidentally got a black lychee. He also saw the video of the lightning man and ate it immediately. After eating it, Kong Yongjan didn't notice anything unusual about himself and thought the lightning man was lying. As a result, after arguing with someone, he was surprised to find that the other person was quickly convinced by him. At the beginning, Kong Yongjan didn't know what was going on. Later, in conversations again and again, Kong Yongjan finally confirmed his ability. His words seemed to have a reality distortion field, and it was extremely easy to gain the recognition of others. Empty words and clichés that no one believed in before are easy for everyone to believe as long as they are spoken through his mouth. From then on, Kong Yongjan used this ability to give speeches continuously, gradually convincing all the survivors in the community and organizing them all. Kong Yongjan established the Demon Siu Jing Survivor Leadership Group and appointed himself the leader of the leadership group. Then he selected 6 survivors who were most sincere to him as team members, and from then on he completely controlled the entire community in his hands. Because everyone obeyed Kong Yongjan's words, the survivors in Mahai Yujing community were twisted into a rope, and the survival rate was ridiculously high. So far, more than 1,000 people are still alive in this community. Kong Yongjan controlled this power and transformed the demon Siu Jing. He gathered all the survivors into 2 buildings, and collected, managed, and distributed all materials in a unified manner. Then they organized survivors to clean up the plants in the community to reduce threats to animals and plants. Even though more than 70 people died unexpectedly in the process, no one complained at all. Moreover, the loyal survivors also found 3 black lychees, all of which were handed over to Kong Yongjan. As a result, Kong Yongjan gained 3 more powers. He began to imagine that this was just a small group of 1,000 people. If you control 10,000 people, will you find 30 black lychees? Unfortunately, Kong Yongjan discovered after repeated practice that his abilities actually have limits. First of all, the number of audience members at the speech cannot exceed 100 people, otherwise the effect will be greatly reduced. Secondly, if the audience does not hear his speech for 3 days, he will gradually lose control, so he must continue to speak. Since then, the speech has consumed a lot of time and energy from Kong Yongjan. Kong Yongjan also tried to let the survivors watch the video of his speech, but it was completely ineffective. He had to give the speech face to face to be effective. Therefore, the seemingly limitless ability has an actual limit, more than 1,000 people, and any more will be beyond his capabilities. While Kong Yongjan was giving a speech, Liu Yongwei, director of the Survivor Protection Department of Demon Sea Royal View, came over in a hurry. This is a close confidant appointed by Kong Yongjan himself, and he is deeply trusted by Kong Yongjan. Kong Yongjan's face changed slightly and asked, "What's wrong?" Liu Yongwei whispered anxiously, "Director Kong, a group of soldiers are coming outside. I found at least 2 superpowers. The leader is a man in iron armor, and there is a woman who seems to be able to levitate metal." Soldier. Kong Yongjan's eyes narrowed and he was not surprised but happy. Have the army finally entered the city? He has longed for the army to enter the city for a long time. With his achievements in protecting thousands of people, he will definitely get a good position in the organization. As long as he enters the leadership level, his abilities will have the best stage. There is no greater reward for persuading ordinary survivors than persuading high-level officials. Kong Yongjan couldn't help but think about it. If he could get in touch with the head of the military and chat with him a few times, he would definitely be able to enter the leadership and gradually reach the peak of the Red Mist era. I've long had enough of being in a bullshit community, farming with a group of survivors. Quick, take me to see it, Kong Yongjan said excitedly. Liu Yongwei was a little worried, but out of his admiration and trust for Kong Yongjan, he carried out the order without reason. Okay, Zhou Dao, Li Qingyu and others stood at the entrance of Mahai Yujing community in surprise. This is the most orderly and clean place along the way. Thin but energetic survivors, wearing uniform black clothes and holding homemade weapons, patrolled the community. Groups of survivors were mowing the grass and clearing away the weeds in the community. All the big trees were cut down, chopped into sections, and pushed outside the courtyard gate to reinforce the courtyard wall. Some people transformed the ground into farmland and planted a strange shepherd's purse that seemed edible. Regardless of whether they were men or women, they all had peaceful expressions. They lacked the fear and ferocity of other survivor settlements. Instead, they were full of energy and indescribable happiness. If it weren't for the thick red mist, there would be almost no sign of the apocalypse here. The metal on Zhou Dao's face faded away, and he said in surprise, "Who did this? It's amazing. Even the base with abundant supplies does not have such a harmonious scene." Only Li Qingyu felt a little strange. She was instinctively uneasy. After thinking about it, she stepped forward and asked, "Hello young man, I am Major Li Qingyu from the military. What is the name of your chief officer?" Several patrol members held weapons and stared nervously at Zhou Dao and the others. Even though they were afraid of the weapons in their hands, they had no intention of backing down. The patrol members just stared at Li Qingyu without saying a word. Guo Changing also got off the metal plate, looked at the crowd of people growing vegetables in surprise and said, "Can this kind of food be eaten?" Zhou Dao quickly pulled him to prevent him from getting too close to the patrol members. Although the other party does not seem to have any intention of attacking, the situation is unclear now, so it is better to be as cautious as possible. The patrol remained silent. "It's edible," a cheerful voice came from the red mist. Immediately afterwards, a fat man with a short stature strode out. With a smile on his face, he reached out his hands enthusiastically. "Comrades, I've been waiting for you. Our 1,035 people in Mahai Yujing are looking forward to our Dragon Kingdom soldiers day and night." Kong Yongjan grabbed Zhou Dao's hand and shook it violently. "I am Kong Yongjan, the former district chief of Xinhai District, and the current leader of the Demon Sea Yujing Survivor Leadership Group. What is your surname, General?" Zhou Dao was a little wary at first, but after Kong Yongjan spoke, he inexplicably felt that the fat man in front of him was trustworthy, and he couldn't help but introduce. "I am not a general. I am just a colonel named Zhou Dao. I was ordered to rescue Academician Guo Changing back to the base and passed by your place." "Huh, how did I tell the mission?" Zhou Dao was stunned for a moment, a little worried at first, and then relieved. This Kong Yongjan should be a good official, so he'll be fine. Li Qingyu was secretly worried. This is a top-secret mission, how could Zhou Dao tell it? "I didn't think he was a talkative person before. Why are you so restless now?" "Academician." Kong Yongjan's eyes lit up and he held Guo Changing's hand enthusiastically. "You must be Academician Guo. Oops, I'm a big boss, and I admire you intellectuals the most. Just by chance, we have planted some shepherd's purse in our vegetable field. Can you please give Academician Guo some guidance?" Guo Changing immediately felt that Kong Yongjan was devoted to the people and never forgot his job. He was a good official. He was not reserved either, rolled up his sleeves and said, "Okay, old man, although I am not from the College of Agriculture, I have done some research on growing vegetables. Let me go and have a look. Are you growing shepherd's purse?" Kong Yongjan said happily. "Academician Guo, please come. This shepherd's purse is indeed edible, but it's a bit smelly." Li Qingyu was shocked. Zhou Dao, Guo Changing and the others followed inexplicably, almost unprepared. This made her very uneasy. Could it be that Kong Yongjan's personality charm is too great? Li Qingyu couldn't figure out the reason for a moment, so she could only frown and follow in, secretly vigilant. The sky grew dark. Jong Fan opened the subspace again and found that the tentacle monster was dead. The flesh and blood shriveled, leaving only a thick layer of skin. Wrapped tightly around the roller, it looks a little funny. In perception, the twisted flesh and blood in its body is still as bright as before. Jong Fan climbed onto the tentacle monster's body. The mucus on the surface of the skin is dry, cracked, and very hard. Jong Fan walked up to the twisted flesh and struck it down with an axe. A few minutes later, Jong Fan dug out a ball of blood-red gems. This twisted mass of flesh and blood actually condensed into gems after the tentacle monster died. The shape of the twisted flesh and blood still looks like flesh and blood, but it has become transparent and looks a bit weird. Can this thing also transform chi? Jong Fan took the flesh and blood gem out of the subspace. The flesh and blood gem immediately began to absorb the red mist, releasing dots of chi particles. Jong Fan was overjoyed. It really works. With this thing, when you practice breathing in the future, you can take it out to increase the concentration of chi and increase the speed of practice. Jong Fan put the flesh and blood gem into the portable space. Can you kill a few more tentacle monsters? He couldn't help but feel excited when he thought of the inpatient department of the Third People's Hospital. Just do what comes to mind. He immediately opened the door and went to the inpatient department again. Knowing the details of the monster, Jong Fan gained the confidence to deal with it. Tentacle monsters are a great threat to ordinary survivors and other people with supernatural powers, but to Jong Fan, they can only be said to be average. If you really can't beat him, just turn into a blur and run away. He turned on the blur, walked out of the portal, and landed on the roof of the inpatient department. The scene before him shocked him. The inpatient unit has undergone tremendous changes since last time. The outer wall of the building is covered with cocoons. In the perception, densely packed tentacle monsters are climbing ashore from the Jingxiu River and crawling towards the land. Everywhere they went, all the animals were caught and made into cocoons. Jong Fan's expression changed. In addition, what surprised him was that not all tentacle monsters had the twisted mass of flesh and blood. All tentacle monsters here cannot absorb red mist. Jong Fan didn't stop, and immediately opened the door again and teleported again. This time, he came to a place 200 meters away from the river. This place, which was originally a community, is now filled with dense tentacle monsters. The survivors have long since fled. There is no living person within the range of perception. The tentacle monster wrapped around the big tree and jumped on the treetops. Groups of animals are running away in terror. Accidentally, he was caught by the tentacles, wrapped in a cocoon, and hung on the treetops. Even a giant cat as big as a car couldn't resist the entanglement and strangulation power of the tentacles, and was tied up and turned into a cocoon in minutes. Grass. Jong Fan's face turned pale. Jong Fan teleported again, this time opening the teleportation gate to the top of the Jingxiu River. Jong Fan did not go out, but carefully looked out from the subspace. In perception, dazzling red light flashes everywhere under the water. All kinds of terrifying fish, shrimps, frogs, crabs, and water snakes are killing, preying, and becoming stronger like crazy. There are also some strange animals that resemble tentacle monsters. I don't know what kind of animals they were mutated from, and they are even more domineering. Compared with land, underwater without obstacles is the real Shira field. Almost all living underwater creatures are surprisingly large. Many of these animals have ginger in their bodies, and it is obvious that there are fruits of enlightenment underwater. Jong Fan's scalp felt numb. This is just a narrow river, and it has become cruel. What a terrifying scene it will be in the sea. Under normal circumstances, these animals can be beaten as long as they are beaten, and they will not affect humans anyway. But what if these animals land? Like a tentacle monster. Moreover, many aquatic animals are originally amphibious. Jong Fan felt heavy. He never expected that the greatest danger was not from land, but from underwater. Escape. Where to escape? Mahai City is one of the largest cities in the Dragon Kingdom, and it has become like this. What the hell is going on outside the demonic sea? No, the ground is too dangerous. Let's move our home to the Demon Sea Pearl Tower first. It can not only stay away from the ground, but also stay away from seawater and river water. If an aquatic monster lands, it will naturally be up to the authorities to deal with it. Anyway, if the sky falls, the taller ones will bear it first. Let you pretend to be fools on the TV station. I want to see how long you can survive if aquatic creatures land en masse. Jong Fan did a brief search and found only one tentacle monster with twisted flesh and blood in its body. But this tentacle monster is too big. The size is at least 10 times larger than the previous one. And lying on the bottom of the water. Jong Fan didn't want to take such a risk, so he opened the portal and went to the Pearl of the Demonic Sea. After 2 consecutive teleportations, Jong Fan stood on the observation deck at the top of the Pearl of the Demonic Sea. Judging from the perception, there are actually 5 survivors alive in the Pearl of the Demonic Sea TV tower. This surprised Jong Fan. However, they are all ordinary people, only people with superpowers. Jong Fan was not in a hurry to find trouble with them. He stood several hundred meters in the air, overlooking the entire Mahai city. A sea of red mist and clouds covered the entire city, with only a few tall buildings peeking out from the red mist. Taller and denser than tall buildings are big trees. Poplar, willow, sycamore, ginkgo, all kinds of trees. Some trees have grown to incredible heights, even taller than the Pearl of the Demonic Sea TV tower. Such a huge tree, the base of which is probably thicker than a building, has almost become an ecosystem of its own, with the tree crown casting a large shadow, and various animals passing through it. There is a very tall tree about 1 kilometer next to the Pearl of the Demon Sea TV station. There was a group of strange monkeys lying on the treetops who didn't know where they came from. They have white faces and black backs, and they all have 4 arms. The monkeys roughly discovered the enemy, and suddenly let out a shrill scream, leapt quickly on the treetops, and finally disappeared into the red mist. Jong Fan sighed. I'm afraid it will be difficult for the Earth to return to its past. Jong Fan looked to the east. What should have been a blue ocean there is now obscured by red mist. There are no tall buildings or big trees on the ocean, only an endless red mist, like a sea of clouds. At this moment, a huge sea snake suddenly jumped out of the red mist nearly 100 meters away. The giant sea snake's whole body is covered with alternating silver and blue scales, with terrifying bone wings spread out on both sides of its body, and 3 rows of bone spurs on its back. It has clouds above its head, its lower body is still in the red mist, and its height is almost unimaginable. The giant sea snake holds a giant cruise ship in its mouth, which looks like the size of a cigarette in the mouth. Comparing this ratio, the giant sea snake is at least 5,000 meters long. Jong Fan was stunned. Facing this unimaginably terrifying creature, he had no words to express. Roar! The giant sea snake roared loudly. The sea of red mist and clouds within 100 miles radius were shaken and trembled violently. Then, the giant snake crossed a huge parabola and fell heavily into the sea water. Boom, boom, boom. A huge impact and roar came, as if a nuclear explosion had occurred. The water mist is majestic. There was even a beautiful rainbow hanging in the sky. Jong Fan stared at Hungwoo dumbfounded, and then said after a long time. The main body of the Magic Sea Pearl TV tower has 3 large sightseeing working platforms from bottom to top, namely the lower sphere, the upper sphere, and the space capsule. Among them, the space capsule is located at the highest position, and a revolving restaurant and a Magic Sea Skyline Hotel have been built. In the presidential suite of the Magic Skyline Hotel, Shu Shanda, the richest man in Demon Sea, stood by the floor-to-ceiling window wearing silk pajamas and holding a glass of red wine. Shu Shanda, who had always boasted of being used to big storms, was now so shocked that his mouth was bigger than his fist. What the hell just happened? As soon as he got up, he saw the giant sea snake standing tall on the sky and on the ground. Riding on a horse. You actually treat the cruise ship as a toy. How big is this thing? Behind Shu Shanda, stood a strong man with a short head. The strong man was Shu Shanda's most trusted bodyguard, Lu Lei. After Lu Lei retired from the army, his mother was seriously ill and had no money to treat her. Shu Shanda spent 1 million to treat his mother. Although Lu Lei's mother died in the end, Lu Lei has been loyal to Shu Shanda since then. He has been following Shu Shanda for more than 10 years and has won Shu Shanda's trust. Even in the face of a global disaster like the Red Mist, Shu Shanda took Lu Lei with him. Lu Lei was silent for a long time before saying with a bitter smile. It looks like a sea snake. But it's too big. Shu Shanda's face turned pale. He finally began to wonder, could the world go back to the way it was before? I am the richest man in the Demon Sea. I haven't enjoyed enough of the beautiful life. Why has the world become like this? Maid, the demon sea is no longer safe. Must go inland. I have never been able to contact my father. At this time, there was a knock on the door. Boom, boom, boom. Personal assistant Jong Yan opened the door carefully. Boss, it's time to eat. Shu Shanda cursed angrily. Didn't you see that we were talking about something? How shameless. Jong Yan trembled with fright and quickly exited. It became quiet outside and there was no more sound. Lu Lei sighed. Boss, there's no point in rushing now. The key is to contact the official people and ask them to send a helicopter to take you away as soon as possible. As soon as he mentioned this, Shu Shanda became so angry that he smashed the lamp angrily. That old fool named Jong promised me something nice before, but now I can't even contact him. Mada, I spent so much money to promote him, but he is so ungrateful. Lu Lei remained silent. As Shu Shanda was trapped here longer, he became more and more manic. After Shu Shanda vented for a while, he calmed down and said, Lu Lei, how much food do we have left? Lu Lei said calmly. It's enough for the 5 of us to eat for 15 days. Only 15 days left. Shu Shanda became anxious, his face was uncertain, and he said, You, go and kill Shen Wei and Zhang Yan. Lu Lei was shocked. Is this finally the point? When the red mist first came, Shu Shanda felt something was wrong, so he made a prompt decision and brought his son, personal assistants Shen Wei, Zhang Yan and Lu Lei here. As soon as he arrived here, Lu Lei followed Shu Shanda's order and blocked the stairs and elevator on the top floor. This revolving restaurant and skyline hotel were originally Shu Shanda's industries. So, there was absolutely no resistance from all the hotel and restaurant staff. At that time, no one thought that the red mist would never dissipate. When all things evolved later, Shu Shanda immediately knew that something big was going to happen, and immediately took control of all food and all staff. As the situation became worse and worse, the order was out of control, robberies and killings were everywhere, officials disappeared collectively, and the food stored in the restaurant became increasingly scarce. Shu Shanda knew that the world was going to be in chaos. On the 5th day when the red mist came, Shu Shanda made up his mind and asked Lu Lei to kill all the staff. He was already prepared. If order could be restored in the future, he would set a fire and burn the entire pearl of the demonic sea. He would die without evidence. If order cannot be restored, no one will care about the lives of these people. Since then, there are only 5 people left here, including Shu Shanda. Now, the situation is getting worse and worse. Even Shen Wei and Zhang Yan, who had been with Shu Shanda for many years, had to die. After Shu Shanda finished speaking, he stared at Lu Lei. He was actually very nervous. Asking Lu Lei to kill hotel and restaurant staff is completely different from asking Lu Lei to kill people around him. Shen Wei and Zhang Yan are the most trusted people around him. She is not only his woman, but also his secretary and assistant, and she is equally loyal. If he asked Lu Lei to kill Shen Wei and Zhang Yan, there was no guarantee that Lu Lei would not worry about his own safety. Lu Lei took a deep breath and nodded expressionlessly. Good. After saying that, he turned around and went out. A few minutes later, Lu Lei walked in indifferently, his hands covered with blood, and his voice was dry and authentic. Boss, it's done. Shu Shanda breathed a sigh of relief and pretended not to care. Where's your gun? Give it to me. Lu Lei slowly raised his head, stared at Shu Shanda, and said word by word. Boss, you don't trust me. Shu Shanda was panicked, but his face still said strongly. Lu Lei, what are you thinking about? Don't you even listen to me. Give me the gun. Lu Lei suddenly laughed. I knew you were this kind of person. He clapped his hands. The door was opened. Shen Wei and Zhang Yan walked in with resentful faces. Shu Shanda panicked. Lu Lei, how come they are still alive? Whose blood is it on your hands? Whose blood is it? Lu Lei showed a sinister smile that Shu Shanda had never seen before. Of course it belongs to your precious son. You killed Xiao Hao. Shu Shanda felt as if he had been struck by lightning. Lu Lei sneered. Shen Wei gritted her teeth and cursed. Shu Shanda, you old fool, I have been a dog for you for so many years, and you will kill me if you ask me to. Zhang Yan even grabbed Lu Lei's thick arm, held her in her arms and said with a sweet smile. Brother Lu, kill this old guy, we will all be yours from now on. Lu Lei's heart began to beat rapidly, with an expression of enjoyment on his face. These two women were chosen by Shu Shanda. Naturally, their appearance and figure are the best choices. He is also a normal man and has already had thoughts about these two women. It's just that in the past, he was frightened by Shu Shanda's power. He only had a thief heart but no thief courage. Lu Lei couldn't resist the temptation, hugged Zhang Yan and kissed her hard. Shu Shanda was furious. It's against me. It's all against me. You eat me and wear my clothes, but you actually dare to have love with my woman. Lu Lei said with a ferocious smile. You used to be the richest man, and I was afraid of you. Now you are just an old man. Why don't you pretend like that? As he spoke, he took out his pistol. When Shu Shanda saw the black muzzle pointed at him, his mind went blank and he waved his hands repeatedly. Don't shoot. Wait, boom. Shu Shanda was shot in the heart and fell to the ground instantly. Lu Lei laughed wildly. Ha ha ha, I will have the final say here from now on. Poof. Lu Lei's smile froze. He looked down. A knife was inserted deeply into his waist, and blood gurgled out. Shen Wei on the other side grabbed the pistol forcefully, and he was unable to resist at all. Zhang Yan's face was full of jokes and ridicule. A poor boy is worthy of my wife. Lu Lei suddenly realized that he had been plotted against by two women. You are so cruel. Lu Lei fell softly to the ground, blood spilled from his mouth and nose, and soon became silent. The two girls finally breathed a sigh of relief and hugged each other happily. All the stinky men are finally dead. We are safe. Ha, Shu Shanda, an old guy, thinks we are fools. Shu Shanda is over 50 years old, and he cannot satisfy his two daughters at all, and he is very strict with them. Over time, the two of them mingled together and comforted each other. After being trapped here, the food became less and less, and they saw it. They had followed Shu Shanda for a long time and knew that this old man was the most cruel and ruthless man. They had already made plans to secretly collude with Lu Lei. The two women calmed down and discussed walking out of the room. They were surprised to find a handsome strange man standing at the bar of the revolving restaurant. The two girls were frightened. How did this man get here? They have been trapped here for a long time, almost isolated from the outside world, and have no idea about the rampant situation of supernatural beings outside. The man was Zhang Fan. He poured 3 glasses of champagne slowly, drank one himself, and then said to the two women with a smile. The champagne is nice. Come, have a glass each, and then let's hit the road. The expressions of the two women changed. Shen Wei didn't hesitate, picked up the pistol, pointed it at Zhang Fan and shot him. Boom. Unfortunately, her speed was too slow for Zhang Fan. Zhang Fan didn't hide or evade, he just activated the virtualization. Bullets ripped through his body. A bullet hole was left in the wall behind him. Zhang Fan looked at her calmly, without even blinking. Yeah, I missed it, why don't I try again? Zhang Yan was even more angry. How stupid, you can't hit him at such a close range. Kill him quickly. Shen Wei was angry and thought she had missed. Although she had never fired a gun, the distance of 5 or 6 meters was too close. She was very confident and followed up with 3 more shots. Bang, bang, bang. Zhang Fan was still unscathed. 3 gunshot marks were left on the wall behind him again. This time the two girls finally felt something was wrong. It's so close, it's impossible to miss it. One of the bullets even landed on the wall directly behind Zhang Fan. Shen Wei said tremblingly, You are a human or a ghost. Zhang Yan also looked at Zhang Fan in disbelief. Even if she missed, this person was too calm, as if she had long been sure that she would miss. Unless, he is not a human. He is a ghost. The two girls had never seen a person with superpowers before, so they couldn't help but think wrong. Although they had seen videos of people with supernatural powers on the internet before when the internet was still disconnected. However, they didn't believe it, they just thought those people were pretending. Zhang Fan drank the champagne in one gulp, then walked up to the two women at leisure, reached out and grabbed Shen Hui's pistol. Shen Wei showed no reaction at all and looked at Zhang Fan in horror. You're not a ghost. You can touch me. Zhang Fan smiled and said kindly. Are you going on your own, or should I help you? Shen Wei waved her hands in horror. No, it hurts. Let me go. Before he finished speaking, Zhang Fan grabbed Shen Hui's hair and dragged her towards the elevator. He inserted his fingertips into the crack of the elevator door, and with a little force, he pried the elevator door open. Inside is a dark elevator shaft. Due to a power outage, the elevator stopped at the lowest level and could no longer come up. Shen Hui's scalp was numb and she screamed in horror. Spare me! Spare me! Zhang Fan didn't respond. He just pulled her hair and threw Shen Hui into the elevator shaft. Ah! Bang bang bang! Shen Hui's body hit back and forth against the narrow elevator shaft wall. Soon there was no sound. After a while, the echo of heavy objects falling to the ground came from below. Boom! Zhang Fan turned to look at Zhang Yan. Zhang Yan trembled with fright when she saw Zhang Fan's eyes. She knelt on the ground with a thud. Brother! Brother! Spare me and you can do whatever you want to me. Zhang Fan looked at her with interest. Don't tell me, this woman's appearance and figure are quite good. A woman who can be favored by top wealthy men is at least one of the best in beauty. It's a pity that Zhang Fan is not interested in taking the bus, and this woman is too cruel and ruthless, so Zhang Fan dare not stay by his side. I'm sorry, I'm afraid you might stab me in the waist in the middle of the night. Zhang Yan was stunned. Did this man see that he had just killed someone? Where was he hiding just now? Why did I not see it? Not allowing Zhang Yan to think too much, Zhang Fan grabbed her long hair and dragged her towards the elevator shaft. Let me go! Let me go! Zhang Yan's face immediately changed and she shouted crazily. If you kill me, I won't let you go even if I'm a ghost. She screamed and scratched the back of Zhang Fan's hand with her nails. It's just that this kind of attack is almost like tickling for Zhang Fan. Zhang Fan was just worried about tearing his sleeves, so he slapped Zhang Yan unconscious and threw her down the elevator shaft. Bang bang bang! Boom! Everything fell silent. Zhang Fan checked it carefully with his senses. He was finally the only one left in the entire satellite cabin of the Demon Sea Pearl. Zhang Fan laughed with satisfaction. It hangs alone hundreds of meters in the air, and there are only two ways up. An elevator shaft, a spare staircase. Zhang Fan looked down at the deep elevator shaft. If some people are good at it, they can indeed climb up. With a thought in his mind, he took out a pile of junk from his portable space and threw it down. The unattractive furniture, the broken shelves, the various cars that are usually thrown into the space. Bang! Boom! A few minutes later, hundreds of various kinds of garbage filled the bottom floor of the elevator shaft. Zhang Fan took out another box of nails, scattered them and threw them away. After a jingling sound, the elevator shaft became quiet again. In this way, no matter who wants to come up the elevator shaft, it is impossible not to make a little noise. Unless the other party is as blurred as himself. Chi and blood burst, 500%. Zhang Fan took out a few steel bars, inserted them into the elevator door, then pulled the door shut with force, then twisted the steel bars together, completely sealing the elevator door. After Zhang Fan finished doing this, the burst of energy and blood was released. He headed for the stairs. This is a spiral staircase that leads directly to the ground floor. Every few meters, a small window is opened in the wall, which provides good lighting. Zhang Fan looked down and saw that the depth was almost bottomless. He thought for a while, then descended 100 meters, then took out a big hammer from the space and started smashing it with a bang. Under his brute force, the reinforced concrete stairs were smashed to pieces and fell downstairs with a crackle. Zhang Fan smashed more than 20 meters of stairs, and then threw down a large amount of garbage, completely blocking the stairs. Finally, nails were scattered to make an alarm bell, and the stairway door leading to the satellite cabin was screwed shut with steel bars. Live together. In this way, this cabin is completely isolated in midair and becomes a safe haven that belongs to Zhang Fan alone. Unless there are some people with special abilities, it is absolutely impossible for ordinary people to climb up without being alarmed. After completing the security work, Zhang Fan felt relieved and searched carefully. In fact, he had already seen it from his perception. This was just a matter of confirming it with his eyes. After confirming again that there was no problem, Zhang Fan left another subspace anchor point, opened the portal and returned home. The girls came forward. Zhang Fan said, "Tidy up, we need to find a safe home." He then crossed the floor and entered Li Qingchuan's home. Li Qingchuan was at his desk, wearing reading glasses and studying a newly collected plant. Jong Fan suddenly came and startled him. Jong, is there something wrong with Mr. Jong? Jong Fan said bluntly, I'm leaving. From now on, if you live here alone, you can live on the 32nd floor. The freezers and supplies there are left for you. From now on, I will replenish supplies for you every 3 days. If I have any medical treatment, I will come to you whenever I need you. Li Qingchuan was surprised. Ah, so sudden. He was panicking. How can he protect himself if he lives here alone without Jong Fan in charge? Just like the last survivor riot, if it weren't for Jong Fan, he would probably have suffered. Jong Fan did not explain, but took out a pistol and several boxes of ammunition and placed them on the table. These are for you, keep them for self-defense. Doctors are still useful and worth some investment. Li Qingchuan felt relieved and was very grateful to Jong Fan. Finally, Jong Fan said with profound meaning, if you find black lychees, you must contact me. I will not treat you badly. Li Qingchuan said simply, okay, don't worry. Jong Fan didn't say anything. Li Qingchuan couldn't hide it from himself anyway. If he comes back sometime and finds ginger in Li Qingchuan's body, it means that he stole the enlightenment fruit and just kill him. If Li Qingchuan discovered the fruit of enlightenment and really gave it to him, then Jong Fan would not treat him badly and could reward him with 2 fruits of enlightenment. In this way, both parties benefit. Li Qingchuan gained 2 powers, and Jong Fan gained a new fruit. Jong Fan returned home. The woman has packed her bags. Jong Fan put all the things they wanted to take away into his personal space. Then, with a swipe of his finger, Jong Fan tore open the portal and set the landing point on the subspace anchor point of the Pearl of the Demonic Sea regardless of the distance. The women walked into the portal one after another. Jong Fan took one last look at the room and walked into the portal without hesitation, rolling his eyes and holding Coke in his arms. Chapter 91. Many women enter the portal for the first time and are very curious. When you entered, it was still the Fortune Center community. When it comes out, it becomes the top layer of the Pearl of the Demon Sea. This made several women scream with excitement. As soon as you go out, there is a revolving restaurant. A circle of floor-to-ceiling windows in the revolving restaurant are all made of high-strength tempered glass. Standing here, you can have a bird's-eye view of the entire demonic sea. The boundless sea of red mist and clouds is extremely shocking. The top floor of the Fortune Center is also above the red mist, but it is only 2 or 30 meters above the red mist, which is far less good than the view here. All the girls looked out the window with dumbfounded eyes. Beautiful. So this is what the sea of red fog and clouds looks like. When I came to the Pearl of the Demon Sea before, it was not as magnificent as it is now. Many trees are taller than buildings. Look, look, that monkey is so big. The girls were amazed. Standing high in the sky far away from the ground gave them a great sense of security, and they were able to comment on Hongwu leisurely. Ji Yu Lianying suddenly said in surprise. Strange, why is that red mist bulging? Everyone looked to the north. Su Jin recalled. That seems to be where Mobei Mountain is, right? I've climbed that mountain. Mobei Mountain is located dozens of kilometers north of Mahai. The height is not high, just over 200 meters, but the area it occupies is quite large. The view today is pretty good, with Mobei Mountain vaguely visible on the horizon. But now Mobei Mountain is completely covered in red mist. Jong Fan said calmly, have you forgotten? There is red mist even on the plateau. What's wrong with the red mist on the mountains? When the internet was available, he had carefully collected red mist conditions around the world. The height of the red mist is about 60 to 70 meters. In many places around the world, the altitude itself already exceeds this height. For example, the Kunming Tibet Plateau has an altitude of at least 800 meters. Logically speaking, there should be no red mist in these places. However, Jong Fan has watched many videos posted by plateau residents and mountain residents around the world. As a result, without exception, these places were all covered by red mist. And it is also more than 60 meters away, and it looks no different from the flat ground. Why is that? Also, the red mist on the ocean is actually very strange. The seabed is very deep from the sea surface, but the red mist is still more than 60 meters above the sea surface. Why is this? As for whether there is red mist on the bottom of the sea, he doesn't know, and he has never seen relevant videos. Now no one dares to go to the sea to experiment. Generally speaking, the red mist seems to be able to guarantee a height of more than 60 meters in each place according to the different surface heights of various locations on the Earth. This is amazing. The only exceptions are tall buildings and big trees, where the red mist can be detected, but the red mist will not forcefully cover these places. Jong Fan also saw a video of a dam engineer. The dam where the engineer worked was built very high, and could also exceed the height of the red mist. Is it because tall buildings and dams are man-made, and big trees are living things, not intrinsic to the Earth itself? Thinking of this, Jong Fan vaguely felt that Hongwoo seemed to have simple intelligence, which was extremely strange. He squinted his eyes and looked at the continuous sea of red clouds under his feet. The reason behind this red mist is certainly not simple. After Jong Fan's reminder, the girls also remembered various details of Hongwoo. Lu Mengyao guessed. Behind this disaster, there seems to be a shocking conspiracy. All the girls nodded their heads, their faces serious. Yes, it's so strange. Only a brainless woman like Tian still laughs and laughs without being serious. She stood by the floor-to-ceiling window, holding a cup of milk tea in one hand and taking a selfie with her mobile phone in the other. After the girls calmed down, they began to clean up the satellite cabin. Jong Fan made a simple plan. Revolving restaurants or public places. The Skyline Hotel is where everyone lives. The Skyline Hotel has a total of 35 rooms of various sizes. Jong Fan naturally occupied the presidential suite, which was the largest and had the highest view. The other 8 women chose their own rooms in the order they were accepted by Jong Fan. The same will be true for future women. Whoever comes first gets to pick first. There are so many rooms here, at least for a long time, Jong Fan no longer has to worry about women's housing. According to the order, Tang Shiru was the first to choose, but she did not choose the luxurious suite second only to the presidential suite. Instead, he chose a business suite next to the left side of Jong Fan's room. Xu Mengqian was stunned for a moment, then she realized what was happening and chose the suite on the right side of Jong Fan's room. The other women now woke up. The size of the house doesn't matter. Anyway, this is a super luxury hotel, and any suite is enough for one person to live in. The most important thing is actually Jong Fan's attitude. It's the distance from Jong Fan. Whoever can be closer to Jong Fan has a greater chance of being favored and can take advantage of him in all aspects. To put it 10,000 steps back, the closer you are to Jong Fan, the greater the chance of being rescued if you encounter danger. The girls were not stupid, and one by one they chose rooms close to Jong Fan. Jong Fan saw this and said nothing. He was pleased with the performance of the women. Especially Tang Shiru, who took the lead. This girl is really becoming more and more sensible. He took out a fruit of perception and handed it to Tang Shiru. It's your reward. Tang Shiru was overjoyed. She knew she had made the right choice and said happily, "Thank you, Brother Jong." She eats the fruit of perception. Soon, his eyes lit up and he said excitedly, "Brother Jong, my perception seems to have been upgraded. I can perceive farther distances." Jong Fan laughed. "Oh, congratulations. How far can you sense?" Tang Shiru asked Tian to cooperate with the experiment, and then said, "About from here to that wall." Jong Fan took a look and saw that the distance was about 5 meters, which was the same as the effect of his 2-star perception. Jong Fan thought, it seems that the growth rate of perception rising star has nothing to do with the person, it purely depends on the power itself. The girls surrounded Tang Shiru enviously and asked questions. "It turns out you can really upgrade. What's it like to upgrade?" "Oh, Sister Shiru is so awesome, when can I level up?" Jong Fan has always told everyone that eating the same fruit repeatedly may lead to an upgrade, but so far, no woman has upgraded, so one can't help but be suspicious of Jong Fan's statement. Now, Tang Shiru's perception ability has been upgraded. The girls no longer had any doubts, but they couldn't help but feel a little envious, jealous, and hateful in their hearts. Several scheming women looked at each other, sparks faintly flickering in the air. They secretly made up their minds to perform better and let Brother Jong give me more superpower fruits. I want to be the second upgraded woman. When Jong Fan saw the women's expressions, he just smiled and said nothing. Female competition has been of great benefit to him. Of course he wouldn't step in to stop it. It doesn't matter if the women fight. He has life-stimulating powers and can treat women at any time. Besides, it's idle time anyway, and it's fun to watch kittens fighting, isn't it? Everyone has just moved here, and there is still a lot to do. First of all, it is necessary to clean up and completely remove the traces of the previous group of people. Of course, Jong Fan won't care about this kind of thing. Tang Shiru can lead the girls to complete it. He tore open the portal and walked into the subspace. It's time to take a look at the current situation of that stupid girl Jang Zin. In the endless dense forest, a miserable team came out. Jang Zin touched the sweat on her head and said excitedly. Finally reached. Everyone looked like they were escaping. After 3 days of arduous journey and at the heavy cost of losing 4 people, they finally arrived near the TV station. There are obvious signs of human activity here. The plants on the ground are very sparse, probably because they have been cleaned repeatedly. There is a pungent smell everywhere, which seems to be some kind of burning insect repellent. There are no traces of the huge insects that are common in the dense forest. Jang Zin searched for a while and saw a path clearly followed by people. There is also a huge road sign erected on the roadside with an arrow drawn on it. 100 meters ahead, the reception desk of the official rescue point of the TV station. Street signs should be regularly maintained and not obscured by climbing plants. Jang Zin leads the way. Walk. As soon as they were about to see the light, everyone supported each other and walked over talking and laughing. Walking in this place is obviously much easier. In the red mist, a container iron house gradually appeared. Reception No 7 inches is written on the wall of the iron room, and there is also an iron fence service window that is very characteristic of Dragon Country. Everyone came forward happily. The door and glass windows were closed tightly, and it was so dark inside that it was hard to see clearly. Li Lingling, a girl from Mahai Film and Television Academy, said curiously. Are the staff sleeping inside? Except for the 2 superpowers Jang Zin and Yang Jiawei, there are only 3 survivors left. Lin Tian, who is also a student at Mahai Film and Television Academy, majoring in acting. There is also a survivor who has been following Jang Zin from the police station. He is a middle-aged man, Wang Jianhua, who is an electrician. Yang Jiawei listened and said doubtfully. I didn't hear breathing, no one was there. Could it be that you went back to rest at noon? Jang Zin was also confused. She walked around the tin house but couldn't see a road on either side. It seems to be a lonely house. Wang Jianhua was very angry. Where are the people at the rescue site? Lin Tian also said anxiously. Why didn't anyone come to pick us up? At this time, Yang Jiawei suddenly said nervously. Someone is coming. From all directions. Jang Zin was stunned for a moment. Trap. She immediately raised the fire axe and looked around cautiously. Everyone became nervous. After a while, a dozen heavily armed soldiers surrounded several people and pointed guns at them. One soldier was obviously a person with supernatural powers. He was holding an exaggeratedly large iron shield and stood in front of another slender and charming woman, as if he was protecting her. I don't know what this charming woman is capable of. An officer with the rank of second lieutenant on his shoulders shouted loudly. This is the Mahai base garrison. I order you to put down your weapons immediately and surrender to me. The survivors did not expect to face this scene, and they all looked at Jang Zin in horror. Everyone came here after hearing Jang Zin's propaganda. This scene now is different from what I imagined. Yang Jiawei said tremblingly. Leader, what on earth is going on? Don't worry. Jang Zin comforted him. Seeing that the temperament of the group of people in front of her was indeed that of soldiers, she felt a little more relaxed. She slowly put down the fire axe and said calmly. I am Jang Zin, a police officer from Pinghai Road. I came here after receiving an order from my superiors. I don't have any malicious intent. When the officer heard that he was coming in response to the order, he was relieved, but he still raised his weapon and said sternly. Hello, Police Officer Jong. Since the mob is raging now, in order to avoid unnecessary casualties, please put down all weapons immediately and accept inspection. Jang Zin is a little annoyed. You asked me to come over, and then this is what happened after I came. But her reason told her that what the other party said made sense. The red mist is coming, food is scarce, and the order of the peaceful era has disappeared. Along the way, she also encountered 2 robberies. If he didn't have enough force, these people would all be left on the road. It is estimated that the people at the rescue point have also been robbed by a bold robbery gang, so they are so cautious. The biggest problem is that Jang Zin can't confirm who is on the other side, so it would be too naive to just put down the weapon. But what happens if you don't surrender? With so many guns staring at her and people with unknown abilities, she didn't have the confidence to rush out, let alone the others. You can only trust the other party. Jang Zin took out the pistol and dagger first, threw them on the ground, and said loudly, "Everyone, put down your weapons." Everyone looked at each other for a while, and then reluctantly put down their weapons. In order to pass through the dense forest, everyone made simple and lightweight self-defense weapons, tied a dagger to the mop head and made a beggar's version of a spear. It can both assassinate and push the target away from itself with a mop. The lieutenant officer continued, "Police officer Jong, as well as the man behind you, you two psychics will leave first with me." Jang Zin was surprised that the other party could actually tell that she and Yang Jiawei were people with special abilities, and she didn't know what their abilities were. She glanced at the woman thoughtfully. Could it be her ability? "No problem, but I want to ask, how do you plan to treat my other companions?" The officer said coldly, "Don't worry, we will handle it according to the survivor rescue system." Disposal. This word made Jang Zin frown. But now that the people are under the knife, Jang Zin has no good way to get out of trouble, so she can only take Yang Jiawei and leave with the officer. A soldier led the way at the front, and the officer left with a semi-escorted soldier, a bewitching woman, and two ordinary-looking soldiers. After Jang Zin and others left, soldiers swarmed up and conducted a rigorous body search on the three of them. Li Lingling's cheeks turned red. "Don't touch it. I don't have any other weapons." No one paid any attention to her. After confirming that there were no weapons, another officer said coldly, "You three, follow me." Lin Tian and the other three became nervous, but they were surrounded by soldiers with guns. They did not dare to resist, so they could only follow the officers and leave. Wang Jianhua asked timidly, "Brother, where are we going?" The officer said sharply, "Shut up." Wang Jianhua trembled with fright. The three of them suddenly felt bad, and they all cursed Jang Zin in their hearts. This stupid woman has led everyone into a trap. After a while, the soldier led the three people to a huge tunnel entrance. The 3-meter-high iron door slowly opened, and dozens of heavily armed soldiers stood inside. In the red mist, the lights in the tunnel were dim and looked a bit eerie. The three of them were even more frightened. A soldier pushed behind Lin Tian and said impatiently, "Go in quickly. What are you waiting for?" The three of them could only enter the railway crossing with a grimace, and were eventually escorted to an empty house. Two armed soldiers stood at the door, staring at the three people. The three of them were at a loss. What on earth is going on? Something is wrong. It's over. This time we were tricked by Jang Zin. If I had known better, I wouldn't have come with her. A doctor in a white coat hurriedly walked in. The women go next door, the men stay. Li Lingling was forcibly taken away. Soon, Lin Tian and Wang Jianhua were stripped naked, bathed, shaved, and sprayed with pungent disinfectant. At first, they were very nervous. When I found out that the other person was really just doing hygiene, I relaxed a lot. After all the effort, they can't kill us. Finally, the two were ordered to put on a kind of gray overalls and sent to another room. 7 or 8 people were already sitting inside. They were all dressed in gray and had bald heads, similar to them, and were chatting quietly. The two finally relaxed. Apparently, it was just a hygiene procedure for survivors entering the base. The rescue site is still very cautious. The animals and plants outside are evolving in a roar. Who knows what viruses we have on us? It's just that your attitude is a bit bad. Why can't you say it properly? Come on, it's good to be able to survive in this ghost world now. I don't know if we can have enough food here. After a while, Li Lingling was also sent over. She also had her head shaved and put on gray work clothes. When Lin Tian saw it, he immediately laughed unscrupulously. Li Lingling's bald head is so ugly. Ha 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 ha. Li Lingling loves beauty the most and takes good care of her black hair. Now that I was forcibly shaved off, I was so angry that I was dying. As soon as Lin Tian laughed at her, Li Lingling suddenly became angry, jumped up and cursed. Shut your stinky mouth. Lin Tian smiled and didn't care at all. Now that he has arrived at the official rescue point, he is surrounded by soldiers protecting him, making him feel safer than ever before. The soldiers at the door gloated at the conflict between the two. Li Lingling became even more angry and strode towards the soldier. You people here are too much. I want to file a complaint against you. The soldier immediately raised his gun and pointed it at Li Lingling, and said sternly. Go back. Sit down. Wait where you are to be assigned work. Warn the first time. Shoot directly the third time. Shot. Who are you trying to scare? Li Lingling exploded. Along the way, he worked hard and passed through countless dangers, and finally arrived at the official rescue point. As a result, she was taken into the base at gunpoint as soon as she started, which made her very dissatisfied. Then he was forcibly washed like an animal, and finally his head was shaved in an extremely humiliating way. Li Lingling has been pampered since she was a child, never has she ever suffered such humiliation. Even though Jang Zin was very strong along the way, she was still very reasonable. Li Lingling's emotions reached the limit, she bared her teeth and said. Shoot me, I'm so scared, you have the guts to shoot me in the head. I want to sleep, I want to eat, I want to rest, I'm still a student, I want to get preferential treatment. Click. The soldier opened the safety guard and said coldly. Second warning. Go back. Sit back in your seat. Wang Jianhua felt something was wrong. He had been struggling in society for many years, and he instinctively felt that the soldiers were not trying to scare people, so he quickly stood up and said. Li Lingling, come back quickly. Of course, Wang Jianhua didn't think the soldiers would shoot. However, if you offend these soldiers, you may suffer losses in the future, and you may even get beaten. Why bother? Wang Jianhua also has some ideas about Li Lingling. Li Lingling was admitted to the Mahai Film and Television Academy, so she naturally has outstanding looks. In the past, how could a man at the bottom of Wang Jianhua's level dare to fantasize about a beauty like Li Lingling? It's different now. We are all survivors, aren't we all the same? Along the way, Wang Jianhua greeted Li Lingling and tried his best to take care of her. Otherwise, if all the female survivors were dead, how could Li Lingling come here alive? Li Lingling was not afraid at all and glanced at Wang Jianhua with disgust. Honest people deserve to suffer wherever they go. Of course she could tell what Wang Jianhua was thinking. If it's outside, she'll do it. But when they arrived at the survivor settlement, Li Lingling lost sight of Wang Jianhua and directly put him in the spare tire position. I've seen this kind of scaremongering a lot before. I'm so scared. The soldier raised his gun and aimed at Li Lingling. Third warning. Li Lingling was not afraid, she jumped on her feet and screamed. The soldiers are killing people. Come and see. Boom. The soldiers fired without hesitation. Li Lingling was shot in the forehead and fell to the ground on her back with her eyes wide open. Soon, blood flowed all over the floor. Wang Jianhua froze on the spot for an instant, feeling a bucket of ice water pouring down on his head, and said tremblingly. Why did you shoot? There was dead silence in the room. Everyone was stunned. The soldier had an expressionless face and stared at everyone with his gun in hand. Soon, an officer arrived with a group of soldiers. He glanced at the room and asked boredly, "What's wrong?" The soldier calmly reported, "This woman did not abide by the survivor management system. 3 warnings were ineffective and she has been killed according to regulations." The officer kicked Li Lingling's body in displeasure. "What a fool. You're really going to make trouble for me. Hurry up and have someone come over and drag the body away. It'll stink in a while, and it'll be troublesome if it attracts big cockroaches." Okay. Soon, several people wearing gray overalls arrived. They all have numb expressions and sallow complexions. Driven by the soldiers, several men in gray dragged away the corpses with tired expressions, mopped and cleaned the ground. After a few minutes, the blood, corpses, and bullet casings were all cleaned up, and the scene returned to its original appearance. All traces of a living person disappeared completely, as if they had never existed. Wang Jianhua's hands and feet were trembling. Li Lingling followed Jang Zin and went through a lot of hardships to get here. Just die like that. Lin Tian shrank into a ball, feeling extremely regretful. If I had known earlier, I would have stayed in the fortune center and not been able to come over. This place actually started shooting and killing people after just a few quarrels. After this incident, everyone no longer dared to complain and sat in fear. The soldiers at the door just looked at everyone indifferently without saying a word, which made people feel numb. After a while, several fat men wearing blue uniforms walked in. A tall man in blue looked at the crowd and said, "I read the list, read the name and report my occupation, education, major, and other specialties. Don't make false reports. We will work according to your assignment. If we find any fraud, we will shoot you directly." "Why are they so easily shot?" Everyone shuddered and wailed in their hearts. The man in blue said, "Joe How." The young man at the front stood up timidly. "I'm a food delivery guy. I studied civil engineering in college and have no other specialties." The man in blue quickly said, "You go to the engineering team." Soon, everyone was assigned their tasks. Wang Jianhua was also assigned to the engineering team. Lin Tian could only perform and was of no use, so he was assigned to the handyman team. Jang Zin and Yang Jiawei also followed the officers to the underground base. However, they entered through another door and were monitored by heavily armed soldiers throughout the process. Finally, they arrived at an empty underground hall. There was only one tall, thin man with a hooked nose in the entire hall. Jang Zin took a look and was surprised to find that although he was walking loosely, he actually had the rank of Major General on his shoulders. Jang Zin quickly saluted. The tall and thin man waved his hands casually, looked directly at her and said, "Jang Zin." Jang Zin nodded. Yes, she instinctively felt that this man seemed not to be a soldier, but more like a civilian. "How does a civilian obtain the rank of Major General?" The man said, "My name is Jia Mengxuan, I am a grade A superpower, and I am responsible for your entry assessment." "Hulei, how many superpowers do the two of them have?" The charming woman who had been following Jang Zin and the two of them twisted her waist and stepped forward, saying sweetly, "General Jia, she has two powers, one is a self-explosive power, and the other is also a self-type, but observation type. That man has an ability, which is autologous and observational. It seems to be ears. It seems to be enhanced hearing." Jang Zin and Yang Jiawei looked at Hulei in surprise. This woman can actually see how many superpowers other people have, and she can even see their abilities closely. This is so powerful. Jia Mengxuan was also surprised and said, "You have two powers. That's great. Maybe we need one more grade A power user." Jang Zin asked curiously, "What is a Class A superpower?" Jia Mengxuan did not hide it, and introduced, "The base has classified superpowers. Those with one ability are level C, those with dual abilities are level B, and those with 3 or more abilities are level A. If you can pass my test." "Are there any supernatural fruits stored here?" Jang Zin asked again. "What is the self-type?" Jia Mengxuan was stunned by the question, scratched his head and asked, "Hulei, who are they?" Hulei said with a smile, "This is a classification based on the external performance of abilities. After the base academician Wang analyzed a large number of abilities. There are 6 types in total: elemental, ice, fire, electricity and other abilities. Autologous type is also the most common, various enhancements to one's own body. Foreign objects can affect living things and substances outside the body. Space type, very rare, related to space. Psychic, mental and consciousness-related abilities are also rare. Other categories, some unclassifiable, very weird abilities." Jang Zin wrote it down carefully. This knowledge is very scarce. The 6 categories of superpowers all sound impressive. And I am just the most ordinary self-type, I want to get more powers. Jang Zin asked seriously, "Okay, how to test?" Jia Mengxuan raised his head and said, "Fight with me, and I will evaluate whether you are qualified to obtain the new fruit." Jang Zin frowned. "Fight, unarmed or weapons?" Jia Mengxuan said casually, "Whatever." Jang Zin couldn't figure out the other party's details. "Use your bare hands." Jia Mengxuan nodded. "Okay, let's get started." Jang Zin quickly got into position and made an aggressive horse stance. "Haha, show off your fists and embroider your legs." Jia Mengxuan stood loosely and said easily, "Use all your strength and don't hold back. The higher I rate you, the greater the benefits you will get." Arrogant. Jang Zin was angry. She decided to give this general who didn't look like a soldier a good look. "I'm about to take action, be careful, Major General Jia." Jia Mengxuan grinned. "No matter how hard you come, no one in this world can break my defense." Humph. Jang Zin narrowed her eyes slightly. She had held back when attacking Jong Fan before, but ended up being dumb. This time she had a better memory. Show no mercy. Okay, then let me see the strong men of the military. Jang Zilin's whole body strength exploded instantly, her body size seemed to have increased a circle, and even her short ear-length hair seemed to have grown longer. Jia Mengxuan was dumbfounded. Wait, but it was too late. Click. Jang Zilin crushed the floor beneath her feet and rushed toward Jia Mengxuan like a shooting star. Jia Mengxuan's eyes only felt blurry. Jang Zilin's figure appeared in front of him, and her fist hit his abdomen like an iron ball. Boom. Powerful power exploded. Jia Mengxuan's back was beaten with a huge bulge, and his eyes bulged like bull's eyes. The whole person flew out upside down. Boom. He hit the wall and a large piece of the wall was shattered. Then it bounced back with a dwang sound and hit the ground hard. It bounced up with a dwang sound and fell again. It bounced several times before it stopped and couldn't get up anymore. Hu Lei was dumbfounded. Why is this woman so violent? The soldier holding the giant steel shield shivered. He glanced at the iron shield in his hand and felt that he did not feel safe at all. Jang Zilin's face also changed slightly. Oops, you tried too hard. Why is this guy so weak? Then why were you bragging so awesomely just now? She ran to Jia Mengxuan in panic and patted his back helplessly. Hey, you're not dead, are you? Jia Mengxuan is a major general in the army. If he is killed by him, he will be in trouble. Jia Mengxuan held it in for a long time, finally regained his breath, and sprayed a mouthful of old blood on the ground. Puff, cough, cough, cough. He climbed up with difficulty, holding on and said, "No, it's impossible. I absolutely can't die. It was just an accident, I wasn't prepared." Jang Zilin frowned. Does it take time for your ability to activate? Okay, then activate your ability and I'll try again. No need. Jia Mengxuan waved his hand immediately. What a joke. One more punch and your life will be gone. Look at you, a pretty girl, but how can you be so brutal when you hit someone? Jia Mengxuan said quickly. Jang Zilin, congratulations. You passed the assessment and can be rewarded with a superpower fruit. Jia Mengxuan made the decision for his superiors without saying anything. As for Yang Jiawei, there is no need to test it. He is just a support, and his combat power will definitely stretch his crotch to death. He summoned a soldier. Both of you, please go to the rest area and wait for a while. Housing will be allocated after Major General Zhang has received the superpower fruit. Major General, Jang Zilin was confused. Jia Mengxuan simply explained. With us, if you become a grade A superpower user, you will automatically be awarded the rank of Major General. So this is how your Major General came to be. Jang Zilin suddenly realized. Then I felt a sense of absurdity. A small base also has the power to award Major Generals at will. Isn't this a joke? Seeing everyone leaving, Jia Mengxuan couldn't hold on any longer. He knelt on the ground with a thud and coughed violently. In the hall, a door opened and several people with different looks came out. The leader is an officer with a Chinese character face, sword-shaped eyebrows and starry eyes, and an extraordinary imposing manner. Major General Jia, how are you doing? Jia Mengxuan covered his stomach and said. You can tell just by looking at me. If I didn't have rubber power, I would have been beaten to death. Dr. Liu, treat me quickly. An old man who looked sick came forward, put his hand on his stomach, and quickly took out a box of painkillers. Fine. Jia Mengxuan stared and said. Painkillers, my intestines are almost broken. Dr. Liu said impatiently. I've shown you, it's nothing. You still have the ability to heal yourself, so what are you afraid of? Jia Mengxuan was depressed and did not dare to talk back to Dr. Liu. No one dares to offend a doctor with supernatural powers. The officer with a Chinese character nodded and said. In that case, I have no objection. I have also seen Jang Zilin's destructive power, and I can give him a superpower fruit. Major General Jia, go and give it to him yourself. Jia Mengxuan rested for a while and then recovered. He found Jang Zilin in the rest area and took her to the warehouse area. Jang Zilin couldn't help but admire him when she saw that he was completely normal. It's amazing. I've never seen anyone stand up after being punched by me. The corner of Jia Mengxuan's mouth twitched, and he said to save face. Haha, I have no other merits except that I can resist beatings. The two of them walked into a deep tunnel and went down for who knows how deep. This base is at the foot of the mountain not far from the TV station. It looks like it was a former military air raid shelter. An officer in charge of the warehouse came over. The three of them moved forward together. Jang Zin suddenly noticed that the red mist in the entire base was very light, and she could see more than 10 meters away at a glance. She asked curiously, "Why is the red mist here so light?" Jia Mengxuan didn't think much. "I don't know, it's been like this since I got here." Jang Zin asked curiously, "Do you have a lot of superpower fruits?" Jia Mengxuan shook his head. "There aren't any, just a few. The rest will either be used for experiments or rewarded to others." "How to preserve it? Will it not go bad when you pick it off?" "Why do you want to pick it? Just move the plant with the superpower fruit back by its roots." Jang Zin suddenly realized, it can still be like this. Jang Zin looked at the surrounding tunnels. "Aren't you afraid of being eaten by others?" The officer said confidently, "Absolutely impossible. Even though this place looks ordinary, it is actually full of traps and surveillance. There are also 6 superpowers who are good at surveillance and 50 elite soldiers guarding it. No matter who comes, there will be no return." Quote. "That's it." Jang Zin nodded in admiration. Jia Mengxuan also agreed with deep understanding. "Yes, our warehouse is very safe." As soon as Zhang Fan entered the subspace, he saw that the subspace anchor point on Jang Zin had changed places. This time, she walked underground with a man in military uniform. Zhang Fan suddenly became curious. "Where are we going?" With Jang Zin as the center, everything within 100 meters was exposed to Zhang Fan's perception. Behind the wall of the tunnel where Jang Zin was, there were dozens of soldiers. They were watching the 3 people silently through the monitor. 5 of them have ginger in their bodies and should be people with superpowers. There is also a spiral tunnel below this level of tunnel. A dozen meters above Jang Zilin's head was a huge weapons warehouse. All heavy weapons, tanks, armored vehicles, etc. are stored there. This should be the military's underground warehouse. It was activated after the red mist came. Zhang Fan thought to himself. Now that the external environment is extremely harsh, the Land King tank has no use and can only be stored lonely in the warehouse. The tunnel below Jang Zin has been spiraling downward, not knowing where it leads. Finally, Jang Zin followed Jia Mengxuan to a steel gate. The officer in charge of the warehouse walked to the door and carefully turned the combination lock. This password must not be entered incorrectly. If you make a mistake once, an alarm will sound and all the superpowers in the entire base will hear it. If the correct password is not entered within 15 seconds, poisonous gas will be sprayed directly. No matter how powerful the superpower is, if you breathe, you will be dead. Therefore, it is safe here and no one can enter. The officer was a bit obsequious. Because Jang Zin can obtain the superpower fruit as soon as she enters the base, she will definitely be a big shot with a promising future, so there are benefits to fawning over her. Jang Zin couldn't help but think of Zhang Fan. This kind of defense couldn't stop him at all. The leaders of the base are still too empiricist, and it is too naive to use the thinking of the past to defend against the ever-changing abilities of the present. But she didn't say anything, she just nodded and said cooperatively. Although this method is dangerous, it is very strict. Zhang Fan is more than 10 kilometers away from here, so he would not risk running so far. "Why do you think so much?" The officer added. "Actually, we can still use infrared detection, night vision, laser and other means to increase the security intensity, but now we are short of everything and we simply cannot get so many supplies." Jang Zin nodded and said, "Understood. This air raid shelter was originally supposed to prevent war. No one knew that such a thing would happen." The officer said with emotion. "Who wouldn't say yes? Alas." Jia Mengxuan waved his hand and said, "Why are you demanding so much? This is enough. Now that traffic is cut off, it is difficult for people from outside to come to the base, let alone come here to steal. There have been dozens of superpower fruits stored here, but they have never been stolen." With that said, the officer and Jia Mengxuan pushed open the heavy steel door. The door is at least 30 centimeters thick and made of pure steel. Inside are a dozen small cubicles made of explosion-proof glass. There are only 3 small compartments with lights on, and 3 types of plants are planted in them, with a black lychee hanging on each. There are no lights in the other dozen cubicles, which are completely dark. It seems that the base's power supply is very limited. There are 4 surveillance cameras hanging on the wall, aiming at the cubicle from all angles. Someone should be monitoring in the background. Jia Mengxuan said. A bamboo, an evolved apricot tree, and a leek. You choose whatever you want. No one can tell the power of the superpower fruit. It all depends on luck. Jang Zin had no clue, so she pointed at the bamboo casually. That's it. The officer gestured to the camera. The explosion-proof glass holding the bamboo slowly sank. Jang Zin stepped forward and picked off the superpower fruit. Jia Mengxuan said enviously, "Eat quickly and see what your abilities are." Jang Zin frowned. "You believe me so much? I've just entered the base. Are you afraid that I'll cheat on the superpower fruit and run away?" The officer smiled and said, "All superpowers who received orders to come to the TV station were personally selected by Director Zhe, and they are absolutely correct." It seems like another ability. Jang Zin frowned. "Who is Director Zhe?" Jia Mengxuan said frivolously. "Director Zhe Shanyu, the big boss of our Mahai TV base." Jang Zin ate the superpower fruit without much hesitation. The two looked at him expectantly. What ability? Jang Zin was stunned for a long time. I don't know. In the surveillance camera, a group of senior executives were staring at Jang Zin. The reason why they placed the superpower fruits here and arranged such dangerous poisonous gas defenses was to allow superpowers to eat the superpower fruits here. If an ability that cannot be controlled by the base is really awakened, they will immediately block the passage and kill it to avoid irreparable losses. In fact, in addition to poison gas, there are also a large number of anti-tank mines placed underneath this room. Anyone with superpowers will surely die. Zhe Shanyu is a tall and thin man. He is wearing a black tunic suit. He pondered for a while and asked, "Academician Wang, what should we do now?" Jang Zilin's situation is quite common. Many abilities are so obscure that it takes a long time for the ability user to figure them out. Wang Keji is a personable old man. He expects to say, "Let her go to the laboratory, let Hulei take a look at it first, and then follow the test procedures for superpowers to test the new ability." However, she has only been here for a day and leaves the warehouse area with unknown abilities. Is there any risk? Zhe Shanyu once again looked at Jang Zin on the screen. A magical purple light flashed in his eyes, and then he said tiredly, "Jang Zin still has childish illusions about the country, so I believe she can be mastered and used safely. Academician Wang, do what you want." Ding. Jang Zin consumes 1 enlightenment fruit, tempered chain, and returns 1000. It has been put into the portable space. Enlightenment fruit quenching chain 1 star. After eating, you can gain the ability to quench the chain. Eating the same fruit repeatedly has a chance of improving the star rating. What is this for? Zhang Fan took out one out of curiosity and ate it. Quenching chain. 1 star, you can extract essence from metal. Zhang Fan's heart moved and he took out a large piece of pig iron from his pocket. He put his finger on the pig iron. A lot of physical strength surged out. The pig iron was decaying visibly to the naked eye, as if countless years had passed. 10 seconds later, even though Zhang Fan's physique was as high as 90 and he was sweating profusely from exhaustion, he got an iron needle the size of an embroidery needle. The iron needle gleamed like silver. Moreover, the iron needle was extremely hard, and with Zhang Fan's immense strength, he had to use a huge amount of force to bend it. What's the use of this thing? As a weapon, Zhang Fan held the iron needle. This is too laborious. How long does it take to get enough iron for a sword? And how good is it to use steel directly? Much less effort than this. Zhang Fan couldn't figure it out, so he didn't bother to think about it. Let's increase the star rating first. He took out a large handful of quenched fruit and ate it. This time I was extremely disappointed. Zhang Fan ate more than 80 pills before raising the tempering chain to 2 stars. My level of adaptability to this ability is even more outrageous than the constitution fruit. Ding. Upgrade the chain quenching to 2 stars. Reduce the physical consumption during chain quenching. Zhang Fan didn't know how much consumption had been reduced. However, his physical strength was exhausted and he really had no energy to test anymore. Moreover, what is more important than testing ability is those 2 fruits. Recover your physical strength first, and then get the other 2 fruits of enlightenment. Jong Fan took out a handful of barbecue mutated frog meat and started eating it. Jong Fan ate more than a dozen skewers and felt half full, but his physical strength still showed no sign of recovery and he still felt very weak. It was like fighting all night long. Strange, why is it so difficult to recover the physical strength consumed by chain quenching? He could only go back to the bedroom and prepare to have a good rest. At this time, there was a knock on the door. Jong Fan asked impatiently. Who? Tian's timid voice came from outside. Brother Jong, there's something I think I need to tell you. Come in. Jong Fan lay on the bed. Tian complained aggrievedly. Didn't I just get here? I opened the portal and walked around to get familiar with the environment. I found out that there were bad guys in the building next to me. I was almost caught. You see, my clothes were also hit by flying knives. It's scratched. It's scary. Huh. Jong Fan immediately sat up and asked with squinted eyes. Which building? Tian pointed to a building not far from the Pearl of the Demonic CTV tower. Jong Fan said with a cold face. Several people. No matter what, if this group of people saw Tian's teleportation ability, they must die. Tian complained. 2 men, very ugly. There seemed to be a few subordinates, and they were discovered before I even entered the room. 45th floor rooftop. A man with rotten teeth held a telescope and looked at the Pearl of the Demonic CTV tower with glowing eyes. The 3rd child is right. There are real beauties. Lao San said proudly. That's right. I said I couldn't be wrong. There were at least 3 women in that space capsule, all of them beauties. The woman who ran away just now was among the 3. The man with bad teeth laughed a few times. Not a man. The 3rd child chuckled and said. Probably not. Otherwise, how could a man safely let that little beauty wander around? What if he ran away? I guess those 2 women were teleported up there just by the little beauty's ability. That makes sense. A woman actually has the ability to teleport. The 3rd child was filled with envy. What a waste. If you give it to me, you can go anywhere in the world. The man with rotten teeth squinted his eyes and said. It's okay, then if that fool has it, it means we have it. When we catch her and have enough fun, we'll cut off her legs and hands and force her to take us to teleport. If she can teleport other women up, she can take us teleport. If she dares not to teleport, she will take off her clothes and throw her outside. How dare she be disobedient? Hey, Yu Huang Laosin still has a way. The 2 men laughed sinisterly. Wait until they fall asleep at night before we act. These silly girls think they'll be safe if they climb to a high place. Ha, I'm the best at climbing. The 2 returned to the living room. In the living room, there were 7 or 8 vicious-looking gangsters sitting around, eating heavily. The 4 women were tied together tightly, unable to move like rice dumplings. There were also corpses of some men, with wounds all over their bodies. They were tortured and killed before they were alive, and their bodies were randomly thrown on the ground. The villains paid no attention to the corpses and only cared about eating and drinking. When the 4 girls saw the 2 people walking in, they screamed in fright. The 3rd child smiled ferociously. What's it called? I'll make you feel happy right away. I'll send you on your way tonight. When the women heard this, they were so frightened that they started to cry. The man with rotten teeth cursed. Mada, what if you throw the body down and attract rats and cockroaches? Chen Si, Datu, hurry up. The 2 named villains stood up reluctantly, and one of them protested. Boss, why is it me again this time? Because you 2 are so strong. Shabi. If you are strong, you should work more. Don't talk nonsense, you're stupid. The 2 men carried the body and threw it downstairs from the balcony. The women cried even more miserably. These men are their family. They are residents here and have managed to survive with their families until now. Now their family members have been killed and their lives have come to an end. After everyone had eaten and drank enough, they dragged some sheets and threw them on the ground to vent their animal desires. The screams of women and the excited voices of men could be heard in the room. Half an hour later, the women were silent, and only the men were still shouting excitedly. An hour later, the man with rotten teeth stood up and said, That's it for today. I have work to do in the evening, so save your energy now. The villains made a noise in dissatisfaction. Brothers, we haven't played in 3 days. Maid, that idiot of yours is no longer angry, get up quickly. It's still warm, so I can make do with it. Go away, you are so disgusting. The rotten-toothed man kicked the coffee table to pieces with a bang, stared and said. I said, stop. The villains were so scared that they didn't dare to talk nonsense. The third child said, a bunch of ignorant people, there are 3 beauties in the Pearl TV Tower of the Demonic Sea. I will take you up tonight, and everyone will have a share. It is definitely better than these things. The villains' eyes shined. Really or not? Better than these? Nonsense. When did I ever lie to you? The villains' breathing suddenly became rapid. Immediately afterwards, the man with rotten teeth began to lay out his plan. The plan is extremely simple. The third one is setting up the ladder. I will take the lead, and the brothers will go up with me. There are 3 women on top, and I will kick anyone to death who dares to give in. Everyone cheered in agreement. The boss is wise. Kill them. What a shame. You're just trying to kill me for fun. Yes, yes, catch them. Hehehehe. Suddenly, something mysteriously fell from the ceiling. Snap. Gululu. Everyone looked down and saw that it was actually a grenade. Suddenly there was a howl of ghosts and wolves. There are enemies. Get out of the way. Boom. The huge roar of the shock bomb shook everyone to stagger, and many people fell unconscious on the spot. Immediately afterwards, an automatic rifle passed through the ceiling strangely and stretched out. Bang 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 bang. Bang bang bang. Help. Ah. Run. After more than 10 seconds, the room became quiet. Jong Fan passed through the ceiling and jumped into the room. There were people with superpowers in this group of people, so he didn't want to take risks, and he didn't want to care about their abilities. It would be safest to just kill them. Jong Fan looked around indifferently. Everyone is dead and their bodies are dim and dull. Except for one LYB. The guy was glowing with bright red light, lying on the ground pretending to be dead, with his hand under his belly, holding a dagger, and was waiting for an opportunity. He thought he was pretending to be foolproof, but in fact, in Jong Fan's perception, it was extremely dazzling. Jong Fan walked over casually, and the corpse was ready to go. Snapped. Jong Fan stepped heavily on the neck of the corpse and then crushed it. Click. The cervical vertebrae were broken. Corpse turned into a real corpse. The man with rotten teeth will die with his eyes open. He had no idea how he was exposed. The room was completely quiet now. Jong Fan picked up the telescope, walked to the balcony and looked at the Pearl of the Demonic Sea TV tower. He frowned after taking one look. Sure enough, I can see clearly. Tang Xueren, Tian Tian and several other women were lying by the window of the space capsule, looking over here. Jong Fan was helpless. This is just one building next to the Pearl of the Demonic Sea. There are at least a dozen buildings within 1 kilometer, all rising above the red mist. People on the rooftops of these buildings can see the Pearl of the Demonic Sea if they want to see it. If there is a telescope, the situation by the window of the space capsule can be seen clearly. A group of beauties are naturally eye-catching. This is trouble. Jong Fan was depressed. He chose the Pearl of the Demonic Sea before just for safety. Now, he realized that this place was indeed safe, but it was too eye-catching. The Pearl of the Demonic Sea is the tallest building in the entire Demonic Sea, so it is easy to be targeted. Jong Fan frowned. More traps must be laid down below. Jong Fan plundered the group's supplies. Nothing good. Not much food either. Jong Fan looked down on most of them and just threw them there without taking them. He was about to leave when he suddenly saw 2 women tied up in the next room. These 2 women were probably left by the gangster's boss for him, and it seemed that they were not allowed to be touched by anyone else. Jong Fan pushed the door open and went in. The 2 women saw a strange man enter the room and screamed at the same time. Ah, don't kill us. You can do whatever you want. They didn't dare to go out when they heard the gunfire, and now they were frightened when they saw Jong Fan coming in. Jong Fan, one of the women suddenly said in surprise. Jong Fan was surprised. I know this woman myself, she is actually the cold female roommate in the shared house, Shu Nuo. Promi say. Age, 25. Quality, 7 points, a little beauty who turns heads. Female virtue, 5 points, high self-esteem. Comprehensive score, 5 points. Ding. Does not meet the minimum system requirements. Shu Nuo suddenly understood. Jong Fan, are you here specifically to save me? Shu Nuo's appearance is only above average, incomparable to that of Song Xian, let alone Tang Shiru and other girls. Jong Fan was not interested in her at all, he just smiled casually. No, it's just a coincidence. Hey, man, duplicity. Promises disdained. How could Jong Fan appear here if he wasn't trying to save himself? How far is it from here to rent a house? Shu Nuo began to look at Jong Fan carefully. It seems that he has been living a good life during this time, his muscles are strong, his skin is healthy, and he has never been hungry at first sight. Shu Nuo was moved. She used to look down on Jong Fan, even though his girlfriend Song Xian was more beautiful than her. But the sound of song poetry is too boring, so I have to write it every day. As an urban beauty, Shu Nuo has a wide range of hobbies, including traveling, horse riding, and skiing. Although her income is very low, it does not prevent her from using a few months of her salary to go north for skiing every year. The boyfriend she wants to find must also be an interesting man, rich, and able to afford the expenses of her hobbies. Therefore, Jong Fan has always been out of her consideration. It's different now. It's the end of the world now. Strong men are blue chip stocks. Listening to the movement just now, Jong Fan obviously has a gun in his hand, which is a huge bonus. The weapons of men in peacetime, luxury cars and emotional value. The bonus points for men in the Red Mist era are superpowers and weapons. Shu Nuo decided to give Jong Fan a valuable inspection opportunity in view of his weapons. Jong Fan stepped forward and broke the rope with a little effort. After all, the two of them lived in the same house before. Now that they have met, let's save them. Shu Nuo's eyes lit up slightly. Good boy, it turns out you have superpowers. I didn't expect Jong Fan to be quite good at pretending in front of women. In her eyes, Jong Fan's forceful use of force to break the rope was no different from the previous men showing off their luxury cars. No wonder I could catch up with Song Xian before. Jong Fan gained new powers today, and there are 2 enlightenment fruits waiting for him to get, so he is in a pretty good mood. He simply broke the rope of the other long-haired woman. The long-haired woman timidly said, "Thanks." She didn't know this man's character or what she would face. However, since he promised to get to know the other person, at least he wouldn't kill himself, right? The long-haired woman looked at Shu Nuo somewhat flatteringly. The promise was made. Jong Fan, help me, my feet are a little numb from being tied up. Jong Fan frowned. Get up yourself. He was too lazy to take care of a patient with princess disease. When they were renting a house, Shu Nuo liked to act reserved and dignified, while the other female roommate, He Qian, was very slutty. The two were incompatible with each other and often had quarrels. Jong Fan's favorite thing is to watch the two girls having fun. Shu Nuo said dissatisfiedly, "You're a grown man, what's wrong with helping a woman? Don't think that just because you saved me, I have to thank you. If you want to pursue me, I have to keep an eye on you for a while. I'm not just any woman. When will I pursue you?" Jong Fan was baffled. Did you make a mistake? You don't even look as good as Songxi's pronunciation. Do you feel too good about yourself? Not just a casual woman. Are you still investigating me? You were tied up and played for free, and you started to fight with me. Jong Fan used his senses to check other rooms. After confirming that there was no problem, he simply teased Shu Nuo and said, "Okay, no, don't be angry. How are you going to examine me?" Shu Nuo was still nervous. She just gives it a try. If Jong Fan doesn't accept it, there is nothing he can do. As soon as she heard Jong Fan say such words, she immediately became hopeful. Really, this guy has been spying on me. Snort, I knew it. A superficial woman like Song Xian, apart from her good-looking face, how can she compare to me? Shu Nuo was so proud that he raised his chin and said, "First of all, leave your supplies to me. You can't eat or drink at will. I'm doing this for your own good. It's the end of the world now, and we must cherish every piece of food. Secondly, I don't agree. You must not touch me. This is a matter of principle. I am not just any woman. If you want to be with me, you must listen to me. In addition, I am an only child. I can't wash dishes or clothes. When we are together, you have to be responsible for all the housework. Also, you have to be responsible for going out to find food. I am not a superpower. It is too difficult to go out. Danger. Jong Fan almost burst out laughing. Xiaoshou, you've been joking to me, are you probably living in a dream? Shu Nuo's heart skipped a beat, and then she held on and said. Jong Fan, I'm talking to you about business, don't be so playful. It's okay, he must be cheating on me. When establishing a relationship for the first time, you must suppress the man, so that you can ride on his head in the future. Unexpectedly, when Shu Nuo was doing some psychological construction for himself, Jong Fan slapped him in the face. Snapped. Click. Shu Nuo's cervical vertebra was broken and he died on the spot. The long-haired women were dumbfounded. Didn't you guys have a good conversation? Why did you suddenly kill someone? Jong Fan then said coldly. What qualifications do you have to talk to me like this? After saying that, Jong Fan turned and left. The long-haired woman was shivering and did not dare to make any sound at all. With Hu Lei's assistance and Wang Keji's guidance, Jang Zin finally discovered the use of the new ability. She spent all her strength and spent several minutes extracting a small piece of substance from the iron block. Jang Zin looked tiredly at the tiny iron filings in front of her. What is this? Wang Keji took out a magnet and tried it. He found that the iron filings would not be attracted at all, and he immediately became interested. Maybe it's some new material, let me get it to the laboratory for testing. After Jang Zin confirmed the effect of her new ability, she also gained greater trust. First of all, she did not hide the effects of her abilities and showed considerable cooperation. Secondly, this auxiliary capability does not pose a huge threat to the base. Seeing that Jang Zin was very tired, Wang Keji asked a female soldier to take Jang Zin to rest. There are only 4 great superpowers in the base. Jang Zin is the 5th one, which is very crucial. Jang Zin asked anxiously, Academician Wang, when can I receive the mission? I want to be sent on a rescue mission. There are countless survivors out there facing the threat of death. It would be good if I could save even one. Save the survivors outside. Wang Keji sneered in his heart. Zhe Shanyu doesn't want to save him. On the surface, he still excused himself politely. I'm just a scientific researcher, and the tasks are assigned by other leaders. However, you are a grade A superpower, and Director Zhe will talk to you personally. You can rest first, and someone will naturally notify you tomorrow. Jang Zin was helpless, but when I first arrived at this base, I could only follow the organization's orders. She followed the female soldier through the long tunnel and came to the accommodation area. Opening the door, you will see a single room of more than 30 square meters, with all basic daily necessities available. Brand new green military bedding, clean room and floor, white ceiling lamp, and even a small bathroom that looks like it can take a shower. The room exudes the pungent smell of disinfectant, which is also very reassuring. Everything made Jang Zin feel like she was in another world. After trekking in the dark, humid and dangerous jungle for several days, I finally returned to the human world. The female soldier said respectfully. Major General Jong, according to regulations, you are a Class A psychic and enjoy Major General level treatment. Jang Zin frowned. I'm not a Major General, I'm just a police officer. The female soldier said in a flattering tone. Everyone with grade A powers will be awarded the rank of Major General. You will be there soon. Jang Zin felt more and more that something was wrong here. The military attaches great importance to military ranks. How can it be allowed to be assigned arbitrarily by a small base? However, she was too tired. After trekking through the dense forest, fighting and testing Jia Mengxuan, and testing new abilities, my physical strength has now reached its limit. Jang Zin didn't have the energy to raise objections. Since the base's largest leader, Director Zhe, wants to interview him, it would be better to ask him in person tomorrow. She still had a question. Why didn't the base publicly issue a notice to summon survivors to come here? Even if public communications are cut off, aren't there still radio stations? Many survivors should have radios in their hands. But the base did nothing. Seeing that Jang Zin didn't speak, the female soldier continued. Major General Jong, the power supply of the base is limited. The power supply in the dormitory will be stopped from 11 p.m. to 9 p.m. every day. Please allocate your work and rest time reasonably. Jang Zin nodded in understanding and just asked casually, "What is the energy source for the base?" The female soldier said everything she knew. There is an underground river under the base, and there is a small hydroelectric power station there. After the female soldier left, Jang Zin took a pleasant bath, completely washing away the sweat and fatigue from her body. The water was pumped up from the underground river. It was ice cold and uncomfortable to wash, but it moved her extremely. This is life. Jang Zin was lying comfortably on the bed, feeling the clean bedding, and was so moved that she wanted to cry. Maybe it's because it's underground, the bedding is a little damp. Jang Zin fell asleep quickly. Laboratory. The test results of that piece of iron filings came out. Wang Keji was very excited. This substance is so strange. The density is 27.87 grams per cc, which is heavier than gold. In addition, it is extremely chemically stable and cannot react with many acids. The most important thing is the conductivity. This thing is actually a superconductor. There is no resistance at all. No matter it is heated or below zero, there is no resistance at all. It's amazing. Incredible. Wang Keji looked at the iron filings in the small bottle and was extremely excited. If it were in peacetime, this small piece of gadget would have won him the Nobel Prize. Why can superconductors be extracted from pure iron? What is this thing? Wang Keji immediately sent the good news to Zhe Shanyu. Zhe Shanyu celebrated a few words perfunctorily, but he didn't think so in his heart. Superconductor. You can only make 1.2 grams after exhausting your energy. What's the use of so little? Now, the biggest goal is to survive, study the superpower fruits as soon as possible, and create more superpower warriors. Zhe Shanyu thought silently. Yang Xiaozi's troops outside the city had long wanted to enter the city for rescue, but he was firmly opposed. Despite Yang Xiaozi's high-sounding words, don't you still know what Yang Xiaozi has in mind? They just want to seize this base in the name of rescue. Zhe Shanyu's eyes were cold. Yang Xiaozi occupied the national strategic warehouse early, and even if a large amount of materials were spoiled, he could still preserve a large amount of materials such as compressed biscuits. Zhe Shanyu once asked the other party for material assistance, but the guy ignored him. Therefore, Yang Xiaozi was not short of supplies at all, but he was unwilling to save people. He was just trying to buy people's hearts with supplies. Absolutely no good intentions. In addition, Yang Xiaozi has at least tens of thousands of soldiers under his command, and they have a full range of light and heavy weapons, including fighter jets. Once the opponent comes to the base of Mahai TV station, Zhe Shanyu can't stop him at all, and his power will be 100% taken away. The last large-scale spraying of herbicides was the work of Yang Xiaozi. Fortunately, the transport fleet was destroyed by the Red Bird, otherwise Yang Xiaozi would have entered the city. Zhe Shanyu was very vigilant. The underground base of Mahai TV station was originally a secret scientific research base of the military. The scientific research equipment is very complete, but living supplies are limited. Zhe Shanyu is just the third in command of the base. As a result, the director died unexpectedly when the red mist came. The second in command is old and has been recuperating in the hospital all year round. He was not at the base at all when the red mist came. Zhe Shanyu saw the opportunity and took charge of the work in an all-round way. His original plan was just to keep the personnel and equipment at the base, and if he persisted until the country rescued him, he would be able to gain considerable political achievements. Who knows, the situation is getting worse and worse. Zhe Shanyu's mind slowly began to change. Later, there were more and more people with superpowers, animals and plants mutated endlessly, the red mist seemed to show no sign of dissipating, and traffic was completely cut off. By that time, Zhe Shanyu had completely given up the idea of handing over the base to the country. The big time is coming. I happen to be in charge of some of the top military research bases in the country, which is my biggest reliance on getting to the top. As long as he can study the secret of superpower fruits and mass-produce superpowers, Yang Xiaozi is nothing. Not even more. As long as 1,000 superpowers can be saved, the offensive and defensive momentum will be reversed. By then, I, Zhe Shanyu, will become the king of the Red Mist era. At that time, even if Yang Xiaozi doesn't want to go to the city to join him, Zhe Shanyu will take the initiative to join him. However, To achieve this, academician Guo Changing is the key. Academician Wang Keji is proficient in the fields of chemistry, physics and ordnance. Guo Changing is the country's leading figure in the biological field and is best suited to study the secrets of superpowers. In order to save Guo Changing, Zhe Shanyu even took the risk of sending 3 elite superpowers. Class A superpowers Zhou Dao, Class B superpowers Li Qingyu and Wu Jun. Zhou Dao and Wu Jun are both top-notch combatants, while Li Qingyu's ability is very suitable for long-distance treks in the wild. With the protection of these 3 people, we should be able to bring Guo Changing back. In addition, there was a key video that helped Zhe Shanyu make up his mind to stand on his own feet. That was a top-secret video sent by Longguo Aerospace Administration to major confidentiality institutes a few days after the Red Mist came. Less than 100 people across the country have watched this video. Zhe Shanyu once again opened the video with trembling hands and feet and watched it again. The beginning of the video. The U-28 exploration vehicle is driving slowly. The sky is pitch black space. The ground is a desert-like lunar surface. At this moment, the most terrifying scene appeared. A person suddenly landed in front of the camera. Due to the angle of view, the camera only captured the mysterious man's chest. The mysterious man has no clothes on his upper body, and only wears a pair of simple gold trousers on his lower body, and his feet are bare. He stood barefoot on the lunar surface at over 100 degrees. Even after watching Zhe Shanyu countless times, his hands and feet felt cold. Due to the angle of the camera, the head and face of the mysterious man cannot be seen. But it looks like he should be a male. Zhe Shanyu's chest and abdominal muscles are very well developed, and there are mysterious golden tattoos on them. Zhe Shanyu will feel dizzy after looking at him for a few more times. The golden tattoo also exudes a faint light, creating a wonderful halo around the man's body. In the video, the mysterious man faces the Moon Rabbit rover and seems to be observing the machine curiously. Immediately afterwards, a big hand burning with flames grabbed the camera. Click. The screen went black. The 10-second video is over. Zhe Shanyu turned off the video with his scalp numb, and his mood could not calm down for a long time. There is so much information hidden behind this short video. Who is the mysterious man? If they are aliens, why do their bodies look similar to humans? If it were a human being, it would be even more terrifying. Is there such a powerful existence hidden in human society? Why is he hiding in human society? How did he end up on the moon's surface? Why is he going to the moon? How did he move around naked in the vacuum and high temperature of the moon's surface? What is the purpose of the tattoos on his body? The Longguo Space Administration stated that this video was taken 5 days after the red fog fell. Does the mysterious man have something to do with Hongwu? Or, is the mysterious person a powerful person with supernatural powers? He just accidentally ate a magical fruit and gained the ability to travel 380,000 kilometers. What fruit can have such a powerful effect? In short, there are too many problems. This is just Zhe Shanyu's speculation. The purpose of the video posted by Longguo's senior officials is to allow various research institutes to brainstorm and provide more ideas to deal with future crises. As the situation gets worse and worse, the senior management can no longer take care of such a distant threat and can only deal with the immediate situation with all their strength. Later, it was even impossible to contact the highest level. In fact, on the 10th day after the red mist came, the entire city of Kyoto completely lost contact, and not a trace of news came out. No one knows what happened to Kyoto City. Therefore, Zhe Shanyu did not show the video to others at all, but hid it privately. Since this video was sent to the Research Institute by the Dragon Space Administration, Zhe Shanyu did not doubt its authenticity. This is not necessarily the case abroad. Of course, he didn't know if Longguo had sent the video to other countries. Zhe Shanyu guessed that according to the character of the senior officials of Longguo, there was a high probability that they would not send it out. Even if it is posted, Zhe Shanyu can imagine that foreign senior officials will think it is a fake video and that the Dragon Kingdom is promoting the power of its own superpowers to other countries. This time the red mist doesn't look simple. Zhe Shanyu sighed and became more determined to create a superpower. This video makes the cause of the red mist disaster mysterious. I don't know what the future will be like. No matter what, it is urgent to strengthen your own strength. Even if the worst happens, if the mysterious man is indeed an alien, as long as the other party can communicate, Jie Shanyu can still surrender and serve as a leader. Of course, being a dog for aliens also requires capital. The stronger the strength you have, the more aliens will naturally pay more attention to it. Fight against aliens. Don't be ridiculous. How can humans resist intelligent life that can physically travel across the universe to the moon? Jie Shanyu thought a lot and carefully put away the military encrypted USB flash drive and placed it in a hidden corner. He looked at his watch. Late at night. It's time to rest. I have to have a good talk with Jang Zin tomorrow and need to recharge my batteries. A grade A superpower is still very valuable to the base. However, Jie Shanyu was more confident in persuading Jang Zin to obey orders. These are a few people with special abilities that he personally selected. They are the few good people in this era who believe in the country and are truly willing to dedicate themselves to the country and ordinary people. Good man, haha. Jie Shanyu sneered, slowly closed his eyes and fell into sleep. Purely good people cannot survive in this era. I'm also helping her live longer. Zhang Fan returned home a little tired. He hadn't been this tired in a long time. The side effects of the quenching ability are too great. He took out a handful of mutated frog meat and ate it. Tang Shiru saw that the man was tired, so she wisely stepped forward and massaged his temples. Xu Mengqian gently tapped Zhang Fan's thigh. Her eyes were full of longing, almost hairy, and she said resentfully, "Brother Zhang, you haven't been to my room for several days." Zhang Fan patted Xu Mengqian's cheek and said with a smile, "Don't worry, you'll be full when it's your turn." Xu Mengqian felt happy, as long as Zhang Fan didn't hate her. Thinking of the previous tragic battles, her cheeks turned red with embarrassment. Zhang Fan took out a few superpower fruits and swallowed them, and then ate the mutated frog meat. The mutated frog meat entered the stomach, and it was warm, emitting bits and pieces of energy, nourishing every cell, making Zhang Fan feel very comfortable. After eating for a while, as if he had reached a certain limit, Zhang Fan felt his whole body suddenly relax. The fatigue after quenching the chain was gone, and his body instantly returned to its full strength. Zhang Fan was surprised. How is this going? At this time, the system prompts. Ding. Comprehensive physical fitness +1. Zhang Fan was overjoyed. Overall physical fitness has actually improved. He has been stuck at 90 constitution for a long time. After his physical enhancement reached 4 stars, he didn't know how many physical enhancement fruits he ate and never upgraded again. Zhang Fan was a little desperate. I thought I would never be able to improve a bit in the future. Now it's suddenly upgraded. Why? What on earth did I do? Could it be? Zhang Fan looked at the mutated frog meat skewers in his hand. Mutated frog meat skewers can improve physical fitness. Even if the physical enhancement fruit cannot improve it, mutated frog meat can also improve it. Zhang Fan's eyes lit up. From now on, eat more mutated frog meat. Moreover, every woman must eat it. Eat every meal every day. This not only allows them to slowly become stronger, but also allows them to accumulate more mutated frog meat. The red mist era is too dangerous. The terrifying giant sea snake put tremendous pressure on him. Zhang Fan cannot guarantee that these women will live forever. In case they died, Zhang Fan had to ensure that he had enough inventory to last until he could get the next batch of women. Seeing that Zhang Fan was silent, Xu Mengqian asked carefully, "Brother Zhang, what's wrong?" Zhang Fan suddenly smiled. "Come on, let me fill you up now. It's quiet at night." Zhang Fan got up and got out of bed. He looked at his watch, 3:40 in the morning. This time is when people are most sleepy. Just in time to steal the enlightenment fruit. Zhang Fan raised his lips slightly, tore open the blue portal and walked in. The subspace 5 kilometers away is filled with nothingness and darkness. The subspace anchor point on Jang Zin's body held up a sphere of light. Zhang Fan clearly saw Jang Zin sleeping. This woman is quite gentle and beautiful when she sleeps. The fierce and heroic spirit when he was awake was completely gone. On the contrary, it looks more feminine. Immediately afterwards, Zhang Fan noticed that there were dozens of rooms in the dormitory area where Jang Zin was located. Each room has 1 to 2 personnel. And these people are all superpowers. Within the bodies of these superpowers, various colors of ginger flash. Just like Zhang Fan's guess, green and blue are the most popular, followed by gold, and gray is still only Jang Zin. Why is this woman so special? Jong Fan didn't dare to open the portal rashly. With so many superpowers, who knows what kind of detection capabilities they have. If it is discovered, it will be very dangerous. I'm here to steal fruit, not to fight. Jong Fan looked at the bottom of the sphere supported by the subspace anchor point. It is about 100 meters away from Jang Zin, which is the limit of perception. There is thick rock between the two layers. Jong Fan chose this place without hesitation. A blue portal appeared in the rock formed over millions of years. Jong Fan activated the virtualization and walked out cautiously. He did not act immediately, but cautiously stayed where he was and kept the portal open. As long as the situation is not good, he will turn around and run away. There are at least hundreds of superpowers here, so be careful. Who knows if there is any special ability that can restrain oneself. Jong Fan concentrated on it and carefully used his senses to monitor the situation around him. Everyone seems normal. Those who sleep sleep, those who are on duty are on duty. It seems that no one has discovered Jong Fan in the rock. Jong Fan waited for a full 10 minutes, but the surroundings were still calm. Then, he closed the portal and slowly moved among the rocks. The accommodation area is quite far from the warehouse area. At least there is no warehouse where Jang Zin went within 100 meters. Jong Fan could only move carefully in the rock wall. Along the way, he saw a large number of people and basically understood the distribution of this underground base. There are a total of 10 floors of tunnels in the entire base from top to bottom. These 10 floors are roughly divided into 3 floors, upper, middle and lower. The top level near the ground is where ordinary survivors live. Most of them wore gray clothes and lived in groups of 50 in a huge room with one bunk. The living conditions were very poor and there was almost nothing except beds. There were a lot of people, about 4,000 people. Everyone's physical condition is very bad, and their physical brilliance is very dim. Many production equipment and indoor planting fields are also arranged on the upper floor. There were people working all night in the middle of the night. The lower floors are the residences of ordinary soldiers, low-level officers, and low-level researchers. They can accommodate 4 people in a room or 2 people in a room. The facilities in the room are quite complete. The number of people is about 7,800. Superpowers, senior military officers, and senior researchers live at the bottom. The rooms are basically 20 to 30 square meters, and the number is the smallest, less than 200 people in total. Among them, one official lived in the largest area, reaching an astonishing 200 square meters. This official is also a person with supernatural powers, and the light on his body is twice as bright as that of ordinary people. There are 4 superpowers and 20 soldiers on duty outside the door to protect them. Probably the leader of this base. Jong Fan thought to himself, but he didn't alert the other party. The primary purpose of this trip is to steal the fruit, there is no need to take risks now. Likewise, there are still people working in some scientific research laboratories. Some are studying chemical materials, some are studying the evolution of animals and plants, and some are dissecting dead people. There is definitely a lot of useful information here. Jong Fan still didn't take action. If necessary, it is not too late to wait until you get the enlightenment fruit. He found the small arms storage area again. There are a large number of arms, rifles, pistols, sniper rifles, and boxes of bullets. There are many more weapons here than in the police station. And there are real offensive grenades, not police shock grenades. Jong Fan thought for a moment, then gently climbed up to the warehouse floor and took away 2 sniper rifles, a dozen boxes of bullets and several boxes of grenades. If you take them all, the people in the base will definitely guess that a person with superpowers has infiltrated them, and they may even guess that the superpowers have abilities like space backpacks. Otherwise, you won't be able to finish it all. Jong Fan didn't want outsiders to guess his abilities. If you only take a small part, then when the warehouse manager finds out, he will only think that someone is watching and stealing. In order to avoid taking the blame, he would try to hide the truth and slowly find a way to settle the account. Therefore, Jong Fan did not move weapons such as tanks and artillery. Anyway, there is no place for these things to be used. This underground base cannot consume these weapons at all. Just keep it here. If you need it, you can come and get it at any time. Jong Fan almost circled the entire base without being discovered. He basically made sure that no one could detect the enemy inside the rock. This made Jong Fan feel relieved. Along the way, he saw many interesting places. For example, the spiral tunnel at the bottom is very deep, beyond the perception of 100 meters, and I don't know where it leads. There were a few other people who interested him. Just like a female superpower working the night shift, her colorful will bubble is actually very strong. Of course there is no comparison with Jong Fan. But it is also much stronger than others. This is the person with the strongest will that Jong Fan has seen besides himself. Finally, he found the explosion-proof glass compartment where the superpower fruits were stored. Poison gas, landmines, flamethrowers. Jong Fan saw a large number of defense facilities. There are psychics and soldiers working the night shift in the corridor. Obviously, the people at the base also attach great importance to the defense here. Jong Fan stood under the cubicle, looking at the enlightenment fruit not far above his head. The cubicle has a camera with a flashing red light. As long as he reaches out his hand, he will definitely be photographed. If you destroy the camera, an alarm may sound, which is even more dangerous. I have no choice but to take it forcefully. Jong Fan opened the portal first, and then stretched out his hand from the ground to pick the fruit of enlightenment. Get one. Put it in your pocket. Got two. Put it in too. After Jong Fan succeeded, he immediately sank into the ground and observed his surroundings vigilantly. Quiet as ever. No one noticed. Jong Fan finally had enough understanding of the base's defense. The defense here is mainly aimed at ordinary people, and no special consideration is given to those with supernatural powers. In other words, there are too many types of abilities, and the base cannot guess that there are still people who can pass through walls. There is no defense against this situation. In short, it doesn't work for me. In that case, Jong Fan became bolder and decided to go see those people he was interested in. First of all, there is the strong-willed woman. Jong Fan first went to the munitions warehouse to find a soldier's uniform to change into, and then slowly walked towards the woman from the rock wall. Underground Research Institute. Hule is on duty. There are too few people with special abilities, and everyone has to work hard, and female people with special abilities are no exception. Hule half leaned on the back of the chair, drowsy. This lounge is exclusive to superpowers. Several other soldiers on duty could only stand guard outside and were not allowed to enter without permission. Suddenly, she was awakened by inexplicable heart palpitations. As soon as Hule opened her eyes, she saw a seemingly ordinary soldier walking past the window. The soldier glanced at her casually, looking a little handsome. In Hule's eyes, it was like seeing a prehistoric beast. This soldier actually has 1, 2, 3, 9 abilities. Hule trembled all over. She knew clearly that this person was definitely not from the base. The superpower with the most superpowers in the base only has 4 superpowers. This man is an extremely powerful infiltrator. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.